Hi, it's me, MeganBob. I'm here to tell you the good news that yes, this is actually the Street Fighter episode that you are about to listen to. And joining me to give you the good news about the fact that this is finally here, this is finally happening, my partner in crime, my partner in life, Kris Newton. Hey, baby.
Hey, and I'm going to start helping you right away if that's okay. This is the Street Fighter episode, and they are about to listen to it.
I mean, yeah, hope so.
Yeah, I mean, unless we really fuck it up.
Unless they nope out immediately and are like, never mind.
Unless we do something in the next 4 or 5 minutes. And they're like, hey, you know what? I never really liked Street Fighter.
Come on, you know you love Street Fighter.
I know I love Street Fighter. I know we both love Street Fighter. It has been a part of our relationship.
Yeah, foundational. Maybe started our relationship?
Street Friender, yes. Street Friender was that was huge for us. The Street Friender episode, I'm going to make public, should be public by this point. It was behind the paywall on the MDC Patreon. So by this point, if you go to patreon.com/MegaDumbcast, you should be able to find a public post with Street Friender, which is where MeganBob and I discussed which Street Fighter characters would be best friends and what their friend meet cute would be, little knowing that was kind of our meet cute. Yeah. And we immediately hit it off and then failed to realize it for a really long time.
For years.
Yeah. So looking back, it's a special episode. And as I've mentioned on a podcast recently, it's fun to go back and listen to because it is me just being so positive, just beaming at MeganBob because we were not secretly in a relationship. And so I didn't have to hide the fact that I was just delighted by everything they do.
Aww. But up until now, we have been secretly in a relationship. Don't worry, it's a polyamorous situation. No one's life is in shambles. Everything is fine. Mm-hmm. But we have been secretly in a relationship because we have not been ready to break the news. And the Street Fighter episode got pushed back because there was relationship turmoil. Classic. The death of many a podcast. And we had to go through that and then got everything back on the rails. And now we're ready to put this out to the world and to basically become, correct me if I'm wrong, baby, insufferable?
Oh, I mean, I think we've long since reached that point. I mean, I think there was a period there at the end where maybe people didn't quite understand what was happening between us, but they knew they hated it. They were listening to us on podcasts and I don't know, with these two, it just I don't know if they're fucking each other, but I wish they would stop.
Never.
So yeah, as MeganBob was saying, the Street Fighter episode was to be our episode where we would go public as a couple. Then relationship stuff happened. You can hear a little bit more about this over on the MegaDumbcast Patreon. If you subscribe to that, I did a short video episode about dealing with depression and sort of other real life eventualities as a creator, and address the fact how it disrupted our podcasts when we had this disruption to our relationship. But suffice it to say here that we had this whole episode, which I think is a very good episode that you're about to enjoy, which includes us coming out as a couple. And then we just had to sit on this episode forever while we worked out relationship stuff. But now here we are podcasting as one.
Yes.
And I mean, spoiling the episode a little because there's a big reveal, but it's fine. This is a historical episode at this point. And one of the main reasons that I thought it was important and was continually trying to get it to come out, whatever else was happening between us relationship wise, is just that Dan and Kam were great in this episode.
Yes.
I didn't want their hard work and their great jokes to just languish in the vault because you and me could not get our shit together.
But our shit is together now, and goddamn, about time.
Agree. So yeah, I'm really happy with this episode. I'm happy it's coming out. And in other exciting news about me and you podcasting together, Bad Choices is also coming up. Do you want to give a short plug for Bad Choices so that the people will listen for later in the episode when they get the real plug?
Bad Choices, the live intoxicated version of Hard Choices that we do in a live stream through Crowdcast, is coming to you in November. And we will be giving you more details on that at the end of the episode, but you will not want to miss it because it is Nick at Night couples.
Yeah. Think back to Nick at Night, listener. Don't just gloss it. Think back to who's on Nick at Night, those married couples on Nick at Night. This may be one of the hottest batches of characters that we've ever talked about.
Yeah. And with that, Street Fighter.
Welcome, warriors. You may be wondering why you had to climb up a mountaintop to download this month's episode of Hard Choices. The answer is simple: to prepare you for enlightenment. Since you first inserted a quarter or picked up a controller to play Street Fighter, you have been learning the secrets of the fighting arts from dozens of seasoned martial artists across the globe. Yet all this time that they were teaching you the art of fighting, little did you know that they were also teaching you the art of fucking. After all, fucking and fighting share the same essential nature. We are born, all of us, with the potential to fuck. Yet for most of us, this potential lies dormant, apart from, perhaps, a few clumsy encounters in high school. We learn nothing of fucking until we have matured into complacency, dooming ourselves to live our lives as fucking amateurs. Yet there are those whose burning desire to fuck will not be quelled. Some do it for glory, some for power, some for money, some for the sheer love of the fuck. They practice ceaselessly, alone or with a partner, until their bodies are sore, bruised, and dehydrated. Still, their indomitable fucking spirit drives them onward. They fuck on beaches, in bathhouses, on rooftops, or right out in the open where somebody might ride by on a bicycle and look at them like, what the hell? If you are one of these elite few, time and place are irrelevant. In the rush of fucking, nothing matters but the two of you. Or more than two, if they brought a bunch of friends who also want to fuck you. In today's tournament, 21 master martial artists will compete to prove that their own style of street fucking reigns supreme, while I and the other hosts cheer them on from the sidelines. For the most part, we'll keep our comments short and the action fast. However, sometimes you really want a world warrior to wreck you like a car imprudently parked in the street fighting district. So, up to 3 times apiece, each of us can pause the action for a Big Feels bonus stage to spend some extra time on our favorite fighters, or on our least favorites, just to drop the barrels of our scorn upon their heads. By the conclusion of this battle, we will know which of these proud warriors represent the median, the zenith, and the nadir of martial arts fuckability. But street fighting isn't really about winning or losing. No, actually, I'm checking my notes. It's precisely about winning or losing. I don't really know how to start a Hard Choices episode that is about winning or losing. Oh, I know. Round 1. Fight! All right, it's just the 4 of us on this episode, which is a pretty small roster. Kind of boring, no offense. So I'm using random character selection. Instead of describing who we actually are, I'm just going to give each of us the description of a random Street Fighter V character. I feel like that's more exciting, more in the spirit of Street Fighter. We've got 4 hosts today, with their fists taped up and their tits taped in place for the impractically costume battle to come. First, the 38th successor of Bishin Ryu, Kam.
Yeah, the tape is gonna be a pain to get off.
A high-ranking Japanese sumo wrestler, Dan Mulkerin.
Balrog? I hardly know Rog.
Oh my fucking god.
Hopefully it's not painfully obvious that I remembered just as we were recording that I needed to come up with a stinger.
little black book of like joke formulas. That's like page
exactly.
2. Yeah.
Yep.
Been podcasting for a while.
At least you had a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, the Messiah-like leader of the secret society, MeganBob.
I did the other way of making a joke on this show. Get lost. You can't compare with my pussy.
Ooh.
And me, your host, the strongest woman in the world, Kris Newton. Before we hit the streets and start to fucking, MeganBob, will you please remind us of the definition of fuckability?
Fuckability is not about what they look like. It's about what they fuck like. So assume you are into them, they are into you. How good is the sex? And what is it like?
Now it's tournament time. Before we get to the fighters who will vie for sexual supremacy today, though, let's discuss some who were knocked out in the qualifying round and relegated to honorable mentions. Makoto, a young, brash Japanese karateka. It would have been nice to have such a different flavor of femme character on the list, but she is not verifiably of age in the games where she appears.
Q, a mysterious metal-masked fighter in a trench coat. Virtually nothing is known about Q, except that he's an elusive figure associated with disasters. So obviously I'd fuck him. But what would it be like? There is literally no way to know. That's what makes it hot.
Fei Long, who is Bruce Lee. Whatever Bruce Lee fucked like, that's what Fei Long fucks like. It just seems rude to speculate.
I was not involved in putting together this list, which is why Laura Matsuda from Street Fighter V is not on this list. Would you like to know the only reason I ever played Street Fighter V?
Yes,
it was
Dan.
because of her. So that should tell you a little bit about where she would have ranked in perhaps a less objective, but frankly better version of this episode.
What a coincidence. Because the next honorable mention is Rose. And I'm going to take a page from Stella's book. This is one of my big feels.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is unorthodox. As a person who mostly put this list together for this episode, I know I cut a lot of people's favorites, including Dan, it seems. And now I want to be mean about it. Rose is just one example of a type. She's moderately cute. She's pleasant enough. She's got this backstory connection to the bigger names people care about, so Rose is sort of around. It's possible that some people, good people, might say, I wonder what she fucks like. You should have put her on the list. Exactly. You wonder, idly. Meanwhile, M. Bison is out here psycho-driving his dick into you until you can barely feel a non-psycho fuck. But you wonder what Rose is like. You know what? Finding out is not going to do her any favors. She's a C+, and there are a lot of characters in this world, and some of them are dictators who will conquer you like a small island nation. And in this kind of company, it is frankly an imposition to have this poor girl get her tits all the way out to earn a C+. And okay, let's say you did it. How do you describe it? How do you tell her what it was like? Rose, it's like I did listen to one whole episode of your podcast, but I just never considered subscribing. Rose, you know how sometimes you save leftovers that you know are going to languish in the fridge because they're neither good enough to eat nor bad enough to put directly in the garbage? That's you. How do you tell somebody that you would fuck her if she were the last thing in the fridge? If we filled this list with characters like Rose, we would have nothing of substance to say about them. And what the hell good does it do anyone to spend minutes of our lives on fucks that give us feelings on a spectrum of why not to why bother? It wouldn't do any good. And it would drag down the overall ranking of this sexy-ass franchise by filling up the middle of the list with nothing. Is that what you want for your girl, Rose? There's some bad fucks on this list, to be sure. We all know they're out there. That's the price of doing business. But I'll tell you one thing. I would not want to be the dead center inoffensive fuck who convinces one of these horny-ass hosts around the table, actually, I've had enough fucking around here. This is boring. So, as the person who made the list, if there's some minor character that you wish had made the cut, count yourself lucky we did not decide to fuck them here tonight, and thereby put them in competition with, for example, M. Bison, who would inevitably make a potentially adequate fuck like Rose, or some other lesser member of the ensemble cast, seem lesser.
I feel attacked. I don't even know why.
Yeah, really stretching the definition of honorable there.
Hey, C+, that's passing. Move along.
Oh God, not really.
With that, at last, it's time to behold the majesty of this episode's stacked roster, aka the list. Number 1, Akuma, a peerless Ansatsuken master who, unlike his brother's pupils, Ryu and Ken, has embraced the murderous power of Satsui no Hado. Akuma is often an unlockable character in the games, but we're assuming there are no special conditions to fucking him. You don't have to first fuck all the other World Warriors in under 25 minutes, for example. Although I bet he'd be impressed.
Number 2, Balrog, the brutal American boxing champion and villainous underboss of the crime syndicate Shadaloo. He's uncomfortably similar to the real-life Mike Tyson for hard choices purposes, but ironically, he distinguishes himself by being less detestable and scary.
Number 3 is Blanca, the bestial man-monster of Brazil. Lost as a boy in the Amazon rainforest, Blanca developed the green hue of jungle leaves and the shocking touch of an electric eel, while retaining a human child's natural ability to roll into a ball and bite.
Number 4, Cammy, a distaff clone of M. Bison who has grown from a soulless assassin to a thorn in Bison's side, working with the UK's vague Special Forces unit, Delta Red. The fact that M. Bison's clone is so often used for gratuitous butt shots is a testament to sexism. But also, let's be honest, a testament to that butt.
Number 5, Chun-Li, the world's strongest woman. When her father was murdered by M. Bison, Chun-Li embarked on a quest for revenge that led her to master multiple Chinese martial arts, to become an Interpol detective, and to develop amazing thighs. For you, the day Bison killed your father would have been the most crushing day of your life. But for Chun-Li, it was leg day.
Goddamn.
Number 6, DJ. A fun-loving Jamaican kickboxer seeking to parlay his success as a fighter into a breakthrough as a recording artist, like Bob Sapp before him.
Number 7, Dawson. A limb-stretching, fire-breathing yoga master and mystic who invites us to ponder life's deepest questions. For example, would you fuck a man wearing human skulls if he had the longest dick in the world?
Number 8, Edmund Honda, a sumo wrestler in kabuki makeup who takes on all comers in his favorite traditional restaurant/bathhouse in Tokyo. Along the way, he has earned the titles of World Warrior, Sumo Ozeki, and World's Japanesest Man.
Number 9, Guile, a tank-topped, silly-haired Air Force badass from the US of A. Though a family man at heart, Guile became a street fighter out of devotion to his friend Nash, or sometimes Charlie, who is sadly deceased. Or sometimes alive.
Number 10, Juri, a Korean taekwondo master with a cybernetic eye and a streak of sadistic hedonism. Juri's a morally gray character who will work with evil organizations, but only to advance her goal of taking revenge on M. Bison, or her hobby of flirting with people while beating them up.
Number 11, Ken, a brash, privileged American, which is redundant, who trained alongside Ryu, but developed along different lines. For example, he prioritized his flaming dragon punch over his fireball, and having a life over brooding with his back to camera.
Number 12, M. Bison, dictator, head of the Shadaloo crime syndicate, and master of psychopower. Bison's incongruous, unnaturally huge smile must conceal many secrets about his fuckability, but we can be sure of 2 things. 1, his soul bears the taint of pure evil. 2, healthy gums.
Number 13, Poison, a self-trained badass who clawed her way out of the Mad Gear Street Gang into a career as a pro wrestling manager and promoter. Poison's whip, crop, and collar make her kinks pretty obvious, which is a fucking relief after speculating about the unknowable sexualities of no fewer than 4 muscular men in gis.
Number 14, Rainbow Mika, a flamboyant Japanese pro wrestler, and a controversially sexualized character, known for her revealing costume and her ass-based attacks. The latter include her shooting Peach maneuver and Peach Assault, a butt-based flurry of offense from Street Fighter V that had to be censored in later builds to move her signature butt slap just below frame. And that's how sexual objectification was solved.
Oh. Number 15, Ryu. Oh, he's on this list? Oh, a serious, some might say one-dimensional Japanese man who's devoted his life to mastering Ansatsuken. Will he succeed in his single-minded quest to fight a lot? Or will he give in to his Satsui no Hado, a dark force within that tempts him to fight even more?
Number 16, Sagat, an indomitable 7'5" Thai kickboxer made even more compelling by an eye patch from his fight with Go Hibiki, a dark past from serving M. Bison, and a chest scar inflicted by Ryu. That which does not kill him makes him hotter.
Number 17, Sakura, a Japanese Ryu superfan and former schoolgirl. We're specifically not talking about the schoolgirl Sakura was prior to Street Fighter V. We're talking about fucking her after she has blossomed into an aimless 20-something with no life experience. Nothing creepy about that.
Number 18, T-Hawk, a towering warrior whose tribe, the Thunderfoot, had their tribal lands in modern-day Mexico stolen by Shadaloo. Shadaloo must have stolen most of their culture, too, because all that's left is feathers and denim.
But so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Number 19, Vega, a handsome, cruel Spanish ninja with so much privilege that he showed up to an underground MMA tournament assuming he'd be allowed to wear face armor and metal claws. And for over 30 years, nobody has contradicted him.
Number 20, Zangief, the battle-scarred bear wrestler of Russia. I'm not sure if he's still a communist since the fall of the USSR, but he can seize my means of reproduction anytime.
And number 21, Dan Hibiki, an overconfident buffoon from Hong Kong who created his own garbage martial arts style after Ryu and Ken's sensei dropped him as a student. Dan began as Capcom's parody of SNK fighting games, but has grown into a joke in his own right. Now that we know some of the lore about today's fighters, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty. Let's find out who gets poked, who gets punished, whose moves land meaty and whose moves get canceled, as we apply our high-level street fucking expertise to this roster, starting with the median. I'll go first with my median. My number 11 is Sakura. Action-oriented pop fiction is full of early 20-somethings, but they're often 20-somethings by default. It's the age after you've reached physical maturity and become legal, but before the creaking and drooping stage of life begins, so it's very convenient. But Sakura is a somewhat realistic early 20-something, and she reminds you of why in real life partners you start to look for some droop. Unlike the younger Sakura from the Alpha series, 20-something Sakura is like a little aimless. She's got all these weird friends. She's getting past the age where naivete is cute, but she's not yet seasoned with cynicism. She's neither sweet nor salty enough, like kettle corn.
That shit sucks.
Oh, I will have none of this blasphemy.
I know, I'm like, whoa. Hey, wow.
Oh, a weird choices is about to break out.
Yeah. God, I'm going to unpack that in a few minutes.
Sakura is cute, no doubt. Energetic, athletic. She's got that spunky smile that you want to make just a little spunkier. And there's a certain charm to fingering someone on a painfully cheap futon. But I just feel like this is a promising young woman who still masturbates by humping a pillow. Strong fundamentals place her at the median on this list, but her fucking style is like her fighting style. All energy and raw talent, no maturity. Kam, you're number 11.
My number 11 is Cammy, and this is Big Feels. Now, as I showed the rest of the hosts, I have dressed up like Cammy when I was younger. I looked enough like it that I could pull it off from time to time. But do I want to fuck me? Well, that really depends on the day. If there's someone else involved and she and I are actually identical, I think that could be so much fun, and I can't even imagine. However, I recall how much baggage I had at her age, and I don't want to deal with the gray arrow me not knowing that being friends and having sex was different than a romantic relationship. So, not a no, but also I want all the disclaimers ahead of time.
Dan, you're number 11.
My number 11 is Zangief. This dude likes rough, competitive sex. Now, I'm not averse to collecting a few bruises in the pursuit of having good sex. So under most circumstances, you know, I'd be more inclined to put him a few spots higher than this. But he's like a foot taller and about 250 pounds heavier than me. So we are well past bruise territory and deep into like broken bones and dislocated joint territory. So, you know, there's going to be some pretty lasting effects from this fuck, but, you know, I'm not saying yet.
Oh!
Bob, you're number 11.
There's some big feels because this is my median. All right. Ken. Seems like he probably eats pussy like an absolute madman. Seems also like a fun guy to edge. Like disciplined, but also has a short fuse. Not every guy can enjoy the intensity of waiting and then getting what he wants. But Ken seems like the type to actually enjoy some level of blue balls. I can only assume that when it's time for him to actually come, anything you are wearing is destroyed. Yes, that's right. I am ranking having clothes violently torn from my body in a hungry frenzy as the median.
Wowzers.
Welcome to Street Fighter.
Yep, I'm right there with you. My number 12 is Vega, the world's most beautiful man and highly deserving of a spot near the bottom of this list. But god damn it, the hard choices format gives Vega an unfair advantage here, just like that fucking Cage in his Street Fighter 2 stage. What I would say in the rock bottom ranking Vega deserves is that if you're not right alongside him on the global leaderboard of conventional attractiveness, Vega will treat you like shit. He recklessly hurts people. He seems to have no capacity for human connection. He's just this privileged shitbag who could only derive sexual gratification for most people by body shaming and then executing them. But the premise of the show is that I am into him and he is into me. And the very fact of Vega's intense, uncompromising contempt for ugliness means that he can't think I'm ugly. And the fact that I'm into him means I am somehow past my moral repulsion and justified sense of inadequacy with Vega. But also, there's no way this guy treats me as though I'm his equal. Like, the eye holes on his mask are small, but he can see. The only conclusion I can come to, and I can come to it a lot, is that Vega is legitimately turned on somehow by using his beautiful fucking body to get me off while looking at me with nothing but highly aesthetic disdain. I'm sorry that it's hot. I truly apologize.
I'd like to cut in here because my number 12 is also Vega.
No.
Yeah, he's a bit of a pillow princess mixed with like a bratty bottom, I think. But like he's athletic and flexible enough to kind of make things interesting. I think like topping Vega would be a lot of fun. Provided you could get used to the mask of his own face that he would force you to wear during the process.
Oh my fucking God.
Kam, you're number 12.
Yeah, number 12, I have Dan Hibiki, and I have to say it's weird to have a Dan on the show and rank a Dan, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, bud.
Fist bump there. But this Dan is very different than our Dan because not even good enough to be a trash human. He's just bad enough to be worse than boring. Next.
I pride myself on being good enough to be a trash human.
Bob, you're number 12.
Dalsum. Do I want to fuck a violent pacifist with inner conflict who is constantly searching his soul to make sure he's on the right path? Actually, yeah, a lot. If you've never been fucked by someone who's fucking you with a sense of like moral certainty that this fuck was capital G good and capital I important and like IDK, there's probably a class action lawsuit you should be getting involved with because you have been wronged and you are entitled to compensation.
We're on to number 13 now, and my number 13 is Zangief. I hate that Zangief is this low on my list. I like him more than that, but we're just at exactly the wrong angles to each other. In sex, I am almost invariably the pile driver and not the pile drivee. The last time I was chained up for sex, I broke the chain. So I imagine this fuck from Zangief's perspective, and I know what it is to approach a formidable partner with a reckless bear wrestling mindset. And I know that it takes two to bear wrestle. Like, you need opposite and equal recklessness from your partner. Otherwise, this is just nothing. That's not me. I can't fight Zangief, obviously, but I also can't walk into a spinning clothesline with a smile on my face. I'm also not that guy. He's still at 13 because Zangief is a decent guy who would want me to have a great time, and he would be able to give it to me through literal brute force. But chemistry-wise, it would be, in the evocative words of Jim Ross, bowling shoe ugly.
Thank you for that Jim Ross quote.
Kam, you're number 13.
My number 13 is Blanca, because a Brazilian Hulk seems muito bem. Very good.
Ooh.
But a Brazilian green Tarzan? Not feeling it. And a guy who wants to be Blanca Chan as an adult? I get it. You're a monster. Not a lot of paid opportunities. Meh.
All right. Dan, you're number 13.
My number 13 is Balrog. He's mean, crass, and selfish, so he's not going to be especially concerned about whether or not you have a good time. But he is a bit of a hedonist, and he clearly knows how to give himself a good time. And I think there's a pretty good chance you'll, like, pick up some sexual gratification just kind of, like, incidentally. He's not going to be my first pick by any stretch, but, if Zangief isn't answering your calls, I think Balrog could be pretty adequate.
How was it, baby? I picked up some sexual gratification incidentally.
Yeah.
Bob, you're number 13.
Also Balrog. Hey, allow me to damage my Care Bear reputation here. He leaves the TV on during the blowjob, and he doesn't even look at you, and it feels like you aren't even a person. You're just a device for sucking dick. But coming is inherently vulnerable and inherently real. It is concrete. I can be very content feeding on the vulnerability of an asshole without ever letting him near me or my actual sexuality. I can be perfectly happy getting a piece of someone and never letting them have a piece of me. Is that terrible? Well, look, it's less terrible than making me listen to MMA commentary while I suck dick. So we are even Stevens.
My number 14 is Guile. Guile is far from the only alpha male type on this list, but he's the only one who might have the actual words alpha male in his Tinder profile. He's hyper competitive, macho, and vain, and I think he would give you exactly the sweaty, muscular fuck that he promises, which is why he's not lower on the list. But, I don't think he fucks his wife that way, at least not anymore. I think he blows your mind just to blow your mind, and if you get any deeper than that with him, you discover that all the fuck energy is on the surface. He can either push you to the limit like an F-16, or he can treat you like a person. And I would need both, at least, to fuck a man with 2 American flag tattoos.
Oh.
Kris, apparently, we must have played on the same Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet, because my number 14 is also Guile.
All right.
Guile believes strongly in traditional, but largely non-toxic American values. And I take that to mean there is a 0% chance that a sexual encounter with him is anything approaching casual. If he's into you, he's going to do his best to romance you first, which is going to probably involve him giving you roses with the same sharp movements as though he were performing a salute. It's going to be important to him that you have a good time, but his mission first mindset means that every move he makes is going to be simultaneously awkward and hilarious. I think he's adequate in bed, but the best part is when you're lying naked on your back, he's completely disrobed. He looks you in the eye and says, "Permission to come aboard?" That makes the whole ordeal worth it.
We have 3 military people listening to this going, "That's Navy."
That's a parody of a military person.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cam, who is your number 14?
My number 14 is Delsim. Okay, Bob just fucked me up bad because, Bob, I wrote this thinking very differently about this character and you, and I said, he is for you.
Sorry.
Not for me. I don't want anything set on fire, for starters. I don't know if you do. But I don't want a peepums ever. And I thought you did. And then I didn't want a tentacle dick like you wanted with Elastic Man. But neither do you, apparently, and I'm very confused.
Sorry. I am a mystery even to myself.
Well, look, I mean, you said it yourself during your median, Bob. This is going to be a very top-heavy list for you. You know, putting Dalsim towards the middle doesn't mean you don't want to fuck him.
Oh, God, no. God, no.
Speaking of Bob, you're number 14.
T-ha! All right. For all that this is a racist grab bag of, fake indigenous mysticism, I can get super into a mystical fuck. You think I have never fucked with crystals carefully arranged around me and my partner? You do not understand who the fuck I am. Is he good? I mean, probably. But we're fucking for reasons that don't really, touch good or bad. I don't rank fucking while a hawk watches over us under a full moon in a desert sky, a lone coyote howling in the distance, in the same way that I rank other kinds of fucks. And I lost the conversion chart, so I'm doing my best here.
I am sure that it matters. The fuck matters if you're trying to charge crystals up. Absolutely. Somebody super flaky right into the show. My number 15 is Ken. Ken is just some guy, and that's not my thing. I guess it must be somebody's, but it doesn't make sense to me. As a man, aren't you embarrassed to go out with nothing but your fucking deep voice and your generic clothes and your smug, clueless face and say, "Hi, I'm a man, and presumably you're into it"? Well, Ken, I'm not into it, and I'm not gonna be into it, whether you wear that blonde hair loose or in a ponytail or in a bun, because I think if I pulled it, you'd say, "Hey, watch it," and not inarticulate sexy noise, which is what I like to hear. Cam, you're number 15.
My number 15 is M. Bison. He is a totally terrible being whom no one, not even Bob, could help. His peepums look is from using, and I quote, psycho power too much. no attention is the only attention you should give this guy. But y'all, it's also Raul Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's Raul Julia saved M. Bison sex appeal for you.
Yes.
That's wow. Dan, you're number 15.
My number 15 is Cammy. And this is a big feels for me. So Cammy, I see as being a real mixed bag. On the one hand, she's unbelievably acrobatic and flexible, which is a huge plus. But she's also very serious and doesn't strike me as like especially creative or adventurous, at least not when it comes to lovemaking. You know, she's driven and goal-oriented, so I do think she'd be trying her best to give you a good time. But I just get the sense that, like, she doesn't really know what she's doing in bed. So, you know, the session is going to be this long, uneven build to an adequate orgasm that's only barely worth the time it took to get there. This is one of those rare cases where, while I wouldn't say no to the sex, I would actually much rather just cuddle with her. Like, I would rather make her feel safe and loved and appreciated, because I think that that's really what she's missing.
Bob, you're number 15.
Also, Cammy. This is someone with a capacity for sex and sexual connection that probably, as Dan says, hasn't really been explored that much or nearly to the degree that it deserves. The problem is that I am not Aladdin. I am not the one to show you the world shining, shimmering, splendid. I can give Cammy an okay time, but I see that there is more here than I can really tap into. Now, I suspect she's probably ideal for a threesome, and the Hard Choices feed may have cause to talk about that sooner rather than later. But in a one-on-one situation, I think I'm not really going to get something great.
Good point. My number 16 is Dan Hibiki. I just know somebody is going to get fucking dewy on this podcast about topping Dan Hibiki. You can't top Dan Hibiki. You can strap on whatever you want to strap on. Life is already fucking this man in the ass, and it is in deep. He's arrogant. Sure, he's a dumbass. Yes, these are attractive qualities in somebody you're hitting with a crop, but I'm not interested in the break you down fuck unless I can get you out of your world and into mine. Anybody can make Dan Hibiki cry. It's part of his shtick. When you knee this man in the balls, you become a part of his narrative. If somebody saw you with Dan Hibiki sobbing, bent over your lap, with the pants of his pink gi down around his knees, and his hard little cartoon dick barely visible while you paddle him, you know what they would think? Classic Dan Hibiki.
Oh, wow.
With every whack, his brand grows stronger. The only thing that hurts Dan Hibiki, as he so richly deserves to be hurt, is lack of attention. I would fuck around with Dan Hibiki to whatever minimum degree was required to get him to text me, specifically so I could not text him back. That's the payoff. And maybe that's not technically fucking, but it's not nothing.
Meow.
God. Can I never piss you off, Kris? Holy shit. I thought girls in high school were mean. Jesus.
Kam, you're number 16.
My number 16 is Rainbow Mika, because leave the boob window to the grown-ups, honey. I'm just not into little sister energy, especially when your moves are still a little rough around the edges. Speaking of high school girls.
Let's see. Dan, you're number 16.
My number 16 is Sagat. And this is where we start entering the tier of people who are just so focused on fighting and improving their martial arts abilities that it's genuinely difficult for me to envision them even having sex, like much less being good at it. Now, of this tier of characters, I think that Sagat does fare a little bit better. You know, while virtually all of his personality is just being a Muay Thai fighter, he does have a bitter and angry side to his character, and this gives him a little bit of an edge. And I think that sex might be one way for him to seek out some measure of satisfaction outside the ring. It's not a priority for him. Certainly not as important as polishing off his knee and elbow strikes, but, you know, he can at least get something out of it. And also, apparently he can hold his breath for over 20 minutes? What?
Jesus.
The hell?
I'm fine with that.
Obviously, Dan, you don't know anything about Thai kickboxing.
I guess not.
Bob, you're number 16.
Vega. It's awful. But there is the slight satisfaction of simply knowing I'm doing this to you. Whatever you think of me, however you judge yourself in comparison to me, the way I'm making you feel right now is absolutely out of your control, and there is not a goddamn thing you can do about it except take it. Don't do it. But if you end up there anyway, enjoy what you can.
You had me until the very end, Bob. But there are just a lot of differences between us. Number 17. My number 17 is Balrog. You could maybe read Balrog as a hedonist, as Dan did. If you do, you're going to rate him higher. I think he's a glutton. Balrog eats expensive meals without tasting them. He overspends on ugly suits that don't fit. He gets unpleasantly drunk because he can, and he fucks the most theoretically high-value women he can find without even using them for anything hot, let alone making an actual sexual connection. If Balrog wants you, it's for the same reason he wants the most expensive suite at the hotel. And he's going to treat you accordingly, which is to say, he's going to spill liquor on you, ruin a bunch of your shit, fall asleep inside you before enjoying any of the things about you he supposedly wanted, and then refuse to leave in the morning until you threaten to call the police.
Oh!
Kam, you're number 17.
My number 17 is DJ. Do any of you remember this thing called Thai Bo kickboxing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. That's who DJ is based off of. That guy.
Wow.
I would never touch that man until he apologizes in excruciating detail for every moment I had to even think about his product. No.
Dan, you're number 17.
My number 17 is Akuma. Normally, villains tend to do very well on my lists, but Akuma is way too serious and single-minded to be much good in bed. He's like if you took all the fun out of M. Bison, about whom more much later in this episode. Akuma has lived a long time and has become a nihilist. I don't think he's been able to find a lot of joy in his life, and I don't think either of us are going to find much joy in our encounter with each other.
Bob, you're number 17.
Chun-Li.
What?
I know. Look, okay. I'm so sorry. I think when Chun-Li's actually in the mood to have sex, it is explosive. I don't think you could really prepare for it. I don't think it happens often. I don't think it's something you're able to really ever get a full handle on. But I think if Chun-Li gives you a booty call, it's not really the kind of thing you turn down.
Better not.
Jesus.
Start forwarding your calls all to me. I'll deal with the problems that you have. Okay. Jesus.
I don't even know where to start unpacking. Like, somebody start Googling pictures of legs. I feel like Bob doesn't understand what legs are.
I'll explain it later, I promise.
I think it's me for 18. My number 18 is Ryu. Welcome back to my recurring segment, Overthinking the Premise with Kris. When we say assume they're into you, I don't think that completely takes the question of desire off the table, because the way someone acts when they're into you varies a lot from person to person. There are people who, down to their souls, have nothing to give even their ideal sexual partner, but a half-hearted, semi-erect fuck that takes up half of their mental bandwidth at best. Ryu only cares about fighting. It's what he's for. Using his body for sex is like using a jackhammer as a vibrator. And just in case that sounds like a little bit of fun, remember that as a person, Ryu's calling is to resist the Satsui no Hadu, a murderously competitive impulse that will make him useless for anything other than murder if he doesn't maintain constant, rigid self-control. And don't get it twisted thinking you're the one who's going to teach this troubled soul to fuck his internal conflict away. We've seen where his character arc leads, and it's toward the power of nothingness, which does resolve Ryu's internal conflict by enabling him to focus on self-perfection in an unemotional, unattached way that doesn't hinge on how he relates to other people. So, good for Ryu. I'm glad he's been successful in his quest to use fist fighting as a replacement for therapy, but I don't think he's a good time in bed at any point in his character arc, and I don't think he's the least bit worried about it.
Jinx, I also have Ryu. I've never fucked a guy who fucks like sex is worth the same intellectual and emotional investment as taking a shower, but that's the vibe I get. But I don't hate showering, so I guess it's not a no.
Double Jinx. I also have Ryu at 18.
Oh, God.
Heyo.
I think he's too focused on constantly trying to improve his fighting abilities to really value or enjoy sex. He'll be trying to just get through the encounter as quickly as possible without being actually rude about it so that he can go back to doing squats or whatever. Best case scenario is if you can plant in his head the idea that the muscles used in sex will have a direct positive effect on his martial arts ability, like waxing cars in The Karate Kid. But I'm not aware of an overabundance of hip thrust based attacks in most martial arts, so, I don't think that's necessarily a winning strategy.
Kam, you're number 18.
I will break this gang up, and I apologize, but mine is Vega. He's an old money narcissist who's into me. He's very flexible and can get into beauty. So I'm beautiful, but he's a sadist. Even with the women that he does find beautiful, he still treats them cruelly. And also that mask that he would make me wear, which I agree, I forget who said that, but they were right. I think he'd make it a mirror so that he could just look at him and wink at himself, and it would just be no. Right? It would basically be Cobra Commander's mask.
Yep,
Extra
exactly my
fuck
thought.
That guy. And he's not even dumb like Cobra Commander.
Right? He's not even going to yell at a high-pitched scream every 5 seconds.
My number 19 is Dalsim. The question we are tasked with answering on Hard Choices is, what do they fuck like? In Dalsim's case, the answer has to be a counterfactual, a kind of riddle, because no body like Dalsim's exists in the real world. That riddle of an answer is, what if jerky were taffy? I wouldn't put it in my mouth. That's what. Kam, you're number 19.
I'm just so afraid of making you want to... If you ever describe me, I'm just going to go and run and hide. I don't want to know. So, my number 19... Oh, God. My number 19 is Balrog, and it's because I'm just not into Mike Tyson. I grew up in the 80s, and he is Mike Tyson before therapy and medication. I like myself in one piece. No, thank you. Good day.
Yes, very wise. Number 19, Dan.
My number 19 is E Honda. And this is the bottom of my fighter in the streets, fighter in the sheets tier. My issue here is just that the dude is a diehard traditionalist who has a real chip on his shoulder when it comes to proving the legitimacy of both himself as a sumo wrestler and also sumo wrestling as a whole. He's physically capable of showing you a good time, but I think it's only ever missionary with him on top, and he's not taking notes, suggestions, or feedback.
That's an interesting take. Bob, you're number 19.
DJ. I bet he's a fun, low pressure, bro-y fuck. I bet he's athletic, ready to go with the flow, and easy to say yes or no to. Guess what? There is no goddamn way you escape this fuck without having to listen to his music. I like sex a lot. I do not like it enough to listen to a demo tape. It's called having standards.
I regret not having them when I was younger.
Oh, fuck.
So many demo tapes.
So many fucking demo tapes.
I feel like I ducked a lot of demo tapes. I did end up having to watch one person's film that they made. That's longer. Ooh, it was full length too. That motherfucker. I know.
How?
So not worth any of it.
I need to know this later.
I hope that dick was incredible, Bob.
It was not.
Okay, all right.
Oh, the smile is real.
My number 20 is Jury. Jury is an open and shut case for me. She's a sadist. She's ruthless. If she's into me, she wants to hurt me badly, and she's going to do it whether I like it or not. If I'm into her, then I'm hot for her. I want to have sex with her, but she won't have sex with me. She'll hurt me badly. So it seems like what I'm being asked to rate here is having a person I'm attracted to beat the shit out of me. I guess because Jury is capable of some restraint and will want to make sure she can beat me up again later, she probably won't kill me. That's positive. She might throw me a bone on something sexually. Like she'll definitely be flirty while she's fucking me up. If we were ranking ways to get your dick broke, Jury's way up the list. She is hot. But in a world full of sexual options that don't break my dick, I have to rank Jury way, way down, almost at the bottom of the list.
Well, I too, Kris. I'm going to go just straight away in case somebody is jumping on this wagon with us, because I too am afraid of getting my dick broke. Jury is my number 20. You said everything I needed to say except for hard choice. Nope, hard pass.
Dan, you're number 20.
My number 20 is Sakura. And honestly, her positive attitude is the only reason she's not dead last. I'll be honest, the term barely legal kind of makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. I get that she's a college student, but she doesn't know what she's doing. I would feel completely awkward about it. It would not be a good time.
Yeah, fair enough. Bob, you're number 20.
Dan Hibiki. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. We've all fucked someone who's self-taught, haven't we? Being fingered by a guy who knows where the clitoris is, but nothing about how you have to, approach touching one. Kris Newton once referred to me as the Dan Hibiki of Smash Fiction, and we're going to goddamn talk about it, and let's unpack that.
I'm ready for it.
Wow, let's unpack that years in the making. We rarely see it, but you love it.
All right. Is there anything else? Any more shit talk you want to direct at yourself before we move on, Bob?
No, I'm good.
Okay. My number 21 is Akuma. If Akuma were into you, you would be a distraction from his art and he would kill you. Or at least cut you out of his life completely and permanently. Not even the worst fuck on this list, a non-fuck. I wanted to kick Jury off of Great British Fuck Off so bad this week, but this bastard Akuma didn't even make a treacle tart. So here we are. Kam, you're number 21.
My number 21 is Sakura. For the same reasons that Dan laid out, I ended up accidentally flirting with somebody who was 15 years younger than me, and that person is still over 10 years older than Sakura is. So no.
Samesies. Sakura is my number 21. Gross. That level of puppyish sincerity. I don't even think I can get through foreplay with that. Also, Dan Hibiki was her sensei, and she thinks Ryu is the best thing ever. How are you so fucking stupid?
Okay. Dan, you're number 21.
My number 21 is Dan. I feel basic for putting him here. I feel like, if I were a deeper, more insightful or optimistic commentator, I could look within myself and find some silver lining or hidden strength to the joke character whose entire concept begins and ends with how much he sucks. But I'm just not that person, do I think you could have some fun with Dan despite how much he sucks? Yes, in that you can have fun with a person you either secretly or openly find to be something of a doofus by just enjoying watching their latest ill-advised scheme inevitably careen off a cliff. But objectively speaking, that person is not a good lay. Inadvertently entertaining in bed, perhaps, but not good sex. And Dan's ego means he will forever confuse the one for the other.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
He has a good first name?
He does have a good first name.
It's a classic. It's a favorite.
10, 9, 8. The numbers tick down as we look on, exhausted from the onslaught of unfuckable street fighters, blood on our faces and cum in our eyes. But we didn't fight our way halfway through this tournament to quit now. With a twinkle in our eye, or maybe that's the cum, we continue with number 10.
No, those are very different.
Bob, we're going to start with you this time. You're number 10.
Kyle. I'ma get him to cry during sex. I will absolutely make this happen. This will be a quest. I don't care what kind of Don Quixote dumbass I sound like. This man needs to cry with his dick in someone's pussy. To paraphrase Hercules, the legendary journeys. Wherever there is emotional baggage, wherever an innocent would suffer toxic masculinity, there would be MeganBob. Keep the tissues handy, baby. We're going to need them for a lot of reasons.
And he only has one eye, so that eye's going to be doing double duty, too.
That is a hilarious joke, Bob. To paraphrase, fuck, that's really, really good.
Thank you.
Dan, you're number 10.
My number 10 is Blanca. I don't think Blanca really cares that much about sex, to be honest, but I do think he has the right personality for it. You know, he's friendly, he has a positive attitude, he's just the right amount of, like, dopey and naive to get really excited for new things. I wouldn't put a ring on it or anything, but if you need an uncomplicated fuck with an enthusiastic, if kind of clumsy partner, like, Blanca's not a bad choice. And if you ever need him to leave, you just wave a ball in front of his face and then you throw it out the front door.
Kam, you're number 10.
My number 10 is Ryu. He isn't a cinnamon roll. He's not a tortured soul. He's more of a ersatz sage-scented Glade candle, and all of those things give me headaches.
My number 10 is DJ. I feel nothing about DJ. I just know that canonically he fucks. Despite the way we see him talk, we are assured that he is charming.
Oh!
Despite the way we see him performing, we are assured that he is a charismatic performer. So, do I think he fucks, even though he gives the dopiest, cheesiest thumbs up, and he whips out his maracas in non-maracas situations? Yeah, grudgingly, canonically, I think he's probably great.
Non-maraca situation.
Bob, you're number 9.
Jury. This fucking bratty little sub. This fucking problem of a baby girl. No one has ever needed a spanking more, and no one will ever fight it as hard as Jury. But she ain't gonna say for it because she knows she goddamn deserves it. She got pissy when Rashid refused to fight her seriously. Classic brat. You want to be taken seriously? Somebody's gonna have to be on their best behavior for daddy if they want that. I cannot begin to imagine how satisfying she is to tame.
Bob, my number 9 is also Jury.
Oh, yes.
But, buddy, you trying to dom Jury, I did not know you had it in you. What a high-risk maneuver. I'm putting Jury here.
You clearly did not listen to the Parks and Rec episode.
I mean, that's true. That's true. I did listen to that episode, and now I'm starting to connect the dots a little bit. Okay. I'm putting Jury at 9 because I think she brings a relatively high base level of sexual and physical competency to the bedroom. But, I mean, Kris, everything you said is accurate. She is a real your mileage may vary character. She is very sadistic. And she really pushes the bounds of what's consensual. I tend to value dominant women characters. I see her as more dominant than submissive Bob. But despite my valuing of that type of character, that's under the assumption that when they dominate me, they will then do things to me that I enjoy. And that is a roll of the dice with Jury. It really is. Like, I think on balance, I'm going to have more good moments than bad with her, but there's going to be some unpleasant bumps along the way.
You're so brave.
It's interesting the math you're doing where like foreplay, get your dick broke averages out to a C. That's very generous.
Yeah. Guess I'm a glass half full kind of guy, you know?
I like my intestines on the inside.
Kam, you're number 9.
My number 9 is Sagat. An emperor/god, you say. Someone who came down from the heavens to be a mere player. But let's be honest, that one eye is only looking at Ryu.
Interesting.
Oh, it wasn't a good enough pun. I'm all sad with myself now.
Oh, I got the pun. I thought it was good. I then just started shipping them in my head. I got distracted by the premise.
My number 9 is T-Hawk. I can't imagine T-Hawk fucking in any way but earnestly, single-mindedly, and hard. Is this a testament to T-Hawk as a character? No. He basically does one thing in one way. But in sex, this one thing, an earnest, single-minded, hard fuck by a deep-down, decent 7-foot-plus man, that's going to be a positive and memorable experience. I'm not sure that I'm going to go back for seconds, but just one time, I mean, it's always nice when somebody literally fucks you like they mean it, and T-Hawk simply doesn't have the character depth for anything else. Bob, you're number 8.
Akuma. Allow me to channel Annie Creighton for a second. Look. There is a time and a place for a good, hard, anonymous fuck that's about just needing to come. Sometimes it's post-workout. Sometimes it's like while you're in the middle of a big project, tension is high, but it's so simple. You just need to come. No big deal. This isn't romance. This is like massaging a sore muscle or stretching a ligament. Who you are to each other? Unimportant. You are just a physical expression of a tension that needs somewhere to go. You move apart immediately after it's over, the way that animals do. The need is gone for now, and you can get back to your real focus.
Can you please tell me, speaking of Annie Creighton, tell me what is in your script where you do the Like how many M's are we talking about?
This time I only did 4, but I knew I would just feel out how many there needed to be.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know if you two know this, but like Annie Creighton has the hottest notes in the world.
It's true. It's super true.
Dan, you're number 8.
My number 8 is T-Hawk, and this is a big feels for me.
Oh, hey.
Some grumpy characters are born. Their grumpiness comes from the fact that that's just the way their personality is shaped. They're always going to be inclined to reflexively respond to new people and new situations with a suspicious eye or a dismissive grunt. T-Hawk is a grumpy character, but he's not that kind of grumpy character. He is a character who was made grumpy by the repeated and overwhelming injustices that were forced upon him throughout his life. But there's more to him than that. He still finds peace and happiness through nature, through art, through good conversation. And I think that in T-Hawk, you're going to find someone who really values your time together as a way for him to momentarily escape all of the trials and miseries that he has in his life. You know, he has become hardened to the world, parentheses bad. And he'll become hardened to you too, parentheses good.
Kam, you're number 8.
My number 8 is E Honda. Oh my god, the guy likes karaoke and fights by, please excuse the gross oversimplification of the concept of sumo wrestling, but isn't it hugging? Let's be honest, there's some hugging there. Like, what a wonderful day you could have with this man. But he likes teaching sumo wrestling, and I am not learning sumo wrestling for real. It would hurt my back, and that's not why I want my back to hurt.
My number 8 is E Honda.
Yay!
Yeah. This is a fuck I can wholeheartedly get into. On the shallowest level, physically, yes, give me a huge, fat, strong guy with big everything and weirdly great cardio. I've wanted to touch a body like that ever since I saw Kingpin killing ninjas in Daredevil comics when I was a kid. And unlike Kingpin, I think E. Honda would let me go on a self-guided tour of his whole deal without throwing me off a roof or whatever. It's not just his body, though. It's that he's a perfect combination of serious-minded, personable, and hedonistic. Here's a fun, easygoing guy in some ways who wants to feel good, wants you to feel good, but he puts his mind to it. He will probably make you go on a date to his restaurant that he owns before he'll fuck you, but that's fine. I respect the hustle. Bob, you're number 7.
Rainbow Mika. Pro wrestler girls are hot and fuck real good. I refuse to believe in a world where they don't. That is simply not reality. We have to just accept that if you're willing to take a bump in the ring, you are a goddamn sexual dynamo. She's a little sweet for my taste, but I think she fucks like she means it. Do you know how much that fucking counts for? Think of the last time you fucked someone who fucked like they stone cold meant it. Yeah, you cannot get that at the store.
Wow. Now that you say this, it's making me think of like T-Hawk and Rainbow Mika. There's a similar energy there. They're both wrestlers of different kinds. There's a real like...
They can have a promotion. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, T-Hawk doesn't like pro wrestling canonically, but he could be brought around. So maybe that's the...
Yeah, just work
I think Rainbow Mika would be the person to bring him around. Let's be fair.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
A grumpy sunshine couple. That's too cute.
Yeah, I'm into this. Like we don't fit into it, so it's not for hard choices, but we can, let's, as a sidebar, we can talk about this later, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. I believe we're on to Dan. Is that right? Am I remembering the order?
Mm-hmm, that's
Dan,
right.
you're number 7?
Mm-hmm. My number 7 is Ken. And this is a higher spot than Ken deserves, and I kind of hate that he's this high.
Oh, yes?
Because his attitude is just garbage. He's going to come in with a cocky, swaggering attitude about how he's going to blow your mind, how he's so much better than anyone you've ever had before. And the thing is, while he is not the best lay you can get in the world of Street Fighter, he is actually legitimately good at sex. It is not common for me to actively resent someone who just gave me an orgasm, but if Ken's "I told you so" smirk is the first post-coital thing I see, I would seriously consider getting into competitive street fighting just to have an above-the-board excuse to punch him in the face.
Kam, you're number 7.
So my number 7 is Akuma. I spent 2 hours yesterday trying to make a teenager who was forced by his grandfather to help me move crack a smile.
Oh, no.
And I got him to. So, Akuma, no contest. I will make that man smile away.
Oh, so satisfying. So satisfying.
Oh, I'm so proud.
All right, so my number 7 is Cammy. Coincidentally, as we mentioned earlier, Kam has just sent the picture of Kam as Cammy. And Kam, I feel real bad that you've felt insecure during this episode. You're identifying with people that I am being extremely mean to. So my number 7 is Cammy, and I'm going to compare you favorably to Cammy, okay?
Oh.
So this is number 7. This implies that you're above number 7. When we do hard data, it'll be clear that you're above. You're hotter than the rest of the Street Fighters on this list. Okay, here we go.
Goodness.
Obviously, Cammy fucks. First of all, just look at her. And also, she's a femme fatale turned secret agent who's a clone of M. Bison, about whom, from all of us, more later. It seems like it's hard for Cammy to clock out, which would be a bigger problem for a different character. But there's a real fucky energy to everything Cammy does, so it's not a deal breaker. I don't know that you would have difficulty clocking out Kam. Maybe at times, her manner would be a little too practiced. Maybe you'd look down during a blowjob and get a glimpse of the dead eyes of technical excellence looking back up at you. Not a problem I think you would have with Kam. But at the point when I'm complaining about blowjobs that are too good, we're obviously splitting hairs about a superlative fuck. And then one notch above that is Kam. You're not at the bottom of the list, Kam. I don't know what I've ever done to you on a podcast that makes you think you should identify with the bottom of my list. All right, we're on to number 6 now. Bob, you're number 6.
Blanca. My man is going to treat me to the best jungle fuck. the jungle fuck of my goddamn dreams. I'm going to get eaten out next to a river that probably has minimal dangerous wildlife in it. And you know what? He's not going to have one goddamn bit of chill. Not one. Not a scrap, not a tidbit, not an iota. He is going to fuck like it is the most natural expression of his adoration and passion for you. Like it's the only language he can properly express this feeling in. You know what's better? Blanca will absolutely go out in public with sex stains on his stuff and not give a single fuck. Wet spot? I'm sorry. Badge of fucking honor, you casual.
Duh.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, number 6.
My number 6 is Dalsim. And Dalsim has studied so many different meditative, philosophical, and physical techniques over the years that he is 100% read and mastered everything in the Kama Sutra. I don't think you're going to get much in the way of like passion or carnal hunger from this guy, but he is going to be able to do things with his body and yours that pretty much no one else can match.
All right. Kam, you're number 6.
Number 6 is Zangief. Is he a virgin? His interactions with Marissa makes me think he's a virgin. But also, I would be tongue-tied if Marissa proposed to me. But also, is he a virgin? Also bears. I am so confused, Zangief. In Soviet Union, street fights you?
My number 6 is Rainbow Mika, a pro wrestler. That's already enough. A high energy, genuine, rowdy fucking pro wrestler who runs at everything at full speed. Pigtails, fuck me. That ass, I'm not even into ass as much. It's not that. It's the aesthetic of being over-sexualized to the point of not just self-parody, but like self-homage. Homage to one's own perfect ass. When you love your own ass, the world loves it with you. And I want to be a part of that world. Bob, you're number 5.
Poison. I'm not just hotter than you. I also just kicked your ass. That kind of confidence off of someone hits like a fucking bump of cocaine. I don't know what she fucks like. I just know I'll like it because she's going to make sure I like it.
Accurate. Dan, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Chun-Li. And I went down an enormous rabbit hole figuring this one out. So this is a big feels. There's a character archetype that we talk about a lot on this show, it seems. The archetype of the overly serious, driven agent of justice who is so devoted to their job and to their cause that they don't allow themselves the opportunity for personal pleasure. And, you know, when we talk about that archetype, they tend to hit differently for different people on hard choices. You know, some of us think that those people would be terrible at sex. Other people think that that type is an untapped well of repressed sexuality just waiting for the right person to come along and show them what they've been denying themselves. And all of that is to say that Chun-Li isn't quite that character archetype. She actually does value her own well-being, and despite the fact that she has an undeniably powerful drive for justice and a desire to better herself through discipline and practice, she does allow herself to relax and cut loose. So the question I was asking myself is, does that make her better or worse than the repressed hard-ass whose sexual urges lurk deep within their rough exterior? And I think that that's a matter of interpretation and personal taste. You know, how much do you value the process of cracking that shell to get a good fuck versus just having someone who has already had their shell cracked and knows how to fuck really well by the time you meet them? And for me, I try to evaluate these characters from as objective a stance as possible, given that we're dealing with fictional characters. And I think that objectively, a character who already knows how to fuck and who has experience fucking well is going to give you a better time than one who requires effort to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, she can lift her foot over her head with both legs fully extended. That's pretty good, too.
Kam, you're number 5.
My number 5 is T-Hawk, who it keeps sounding like Seahawk to me. So I think of Garden Plots with Skeletor when I hear that. But in any case, T-Hawk, I understand. We're going to go with the fact that it's just another stereotype. At the same time, a lot of these characters are incredible stereotypes. And T-Hawk is a kind person who needs someone to fuck his pain away. If I need to get him into a place where he's going to accept that help from me, I will use every single trick I have learned in my years as an attorney to convince him with every shred of rhetoric I have to get in those pants.
My number 5 is Blanca. Blanca's my kind of monster fuck, the kind that won't kill me. So that accounts for why he's in the top half. He's top 5 because of 3 magic words. This for Blanca. When it comes from a basically good-hearted, loving hedonist, there's something charming and hot about blatant selfishness. It creates possibilities. Like, imagine, Blanca literally rolls up to you and starts pulling down your pants to go down on you. Your mind's somewhere else, and you say, hey, baby, thanks. And then he almost barks at you. This for Blanca! I mean, what can you do? This isn't about whether you're in the headspace for a blowjob. This for Blanca. And you know what? We all owe a debt to Blanca and the less visible sex monsters all around us for being shameless, selfish hedonists, because some very fun, satisfying, unexpected sex happens, not because you want it right from the beginning, but because it for Blanca. Bob, you're number 4.
E-Honda! You ever ride dick while you're eating a donut and drinking sake? I haven't either, but it's on the fucking list, and E-Honda's gonna give it to me. Life is full of pleasures, and those pleasures matter. E-Honda gets that, and that's why E-Honda is the only one worthy of seeing me high off my ass in lingerie surrounded by Taco Bell wrappers at 10 a.m.
All right, everyone mark off Taco Bell on your bingo card.
I got my pen out just for that.
Yep.
Dan, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Rainbow Mika. I feel borderline blasphemous putting her above Chun-Li, but I looked deep inside my boner, and for me, this is where she goes. I've mentioned this before on the show, but when I put together my lists, I imagine a version of myself who has sex with the character, and then I ask that version of myself how it went. And this version of Dan was physically lifted into the air by a woman 5 inches shorter than him, spun around, and then thrown onto the bed. That version of Dan is doing great.
How tall are you, Dan? Now I need to know.
5'11".
Oh, okay.
Kam, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Ken. He's a dad. He's not a daddy. Not yet. But I like this one. This one I want to play with for a while with this boy. Maybe we can help each other dye our hair blonde and then shower together, and he can help me fix all those spots that keep getting missed.
My number 4 is Sagat. I think I'd like my dick to be the end of a quest. Like, because that's what you get with Sagat. He doesn't do anything but go on quests. Journeys as well, I have to admit. Journeys also. Becoming the world Thai kickboxing and street fighting champion, that must have been a hell of a quest. That happened before his first appearance. Then for a while, he was questing for a rematch with Ryu. Then he switched it up and went on a journey to discover the meaning of combat. Sagat is already huge, powerful, skilled, determined, forceful. He comes to fight you, or to fuck you, having already ascended to the height of his powers. Sagat does not need more sex, or better sex, or different sex. All he lacks is his heart's desire. The fuck that will mean something. If he is fucking you, it is for no other reason than because he thinks that after his years of prolific, prodigious fucking, you will be the one who finally fulfills him. And if his track record in these quests is any indication, he's probably right about where his quest ends. It's my dick.
I think I just blew out my mic.
Bob, you're number 3.
Sagat. Ooh, he's sad. Also, he likes bad decisions. He's making better decisions now, but I also get the sense that Sagat expects you to safe word whenever you want to, but he's going to touch you exactly the way he wants to, whenever he wants to. Like, you're just trying to make some scrambled eggs and suddenly your pajama top is pulled up and his hands are on your tits. He treats your body like an extension of his own and touches it like he has a claim over it. And just in case you are wondering, I am gonna big spoon him and he's gonna learn to fucking love it.
Yeah, I mean, mechanically it doesn't work, but I understand that big spoon, that's spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an attitude thing.
Dan, you're number 3.
My number 3 is poison.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a version of jury who actually respects safe words.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that everything I've been looking for? Yes. Yes, it is.
May I break your dick? Yes. Yes, poison, yes.
Oh, please.
All right, Kam, you're number 3.
My number 3 is going to irritate all of you because it's Guile. Yeah, see, there you go. There are very few things that make me like the United States these days, but a man like Guile might make me pretend for a few hours. Imagine the morning after, him getting up and making breakfast at the crack of dawn for you while you're sleeping, keeping it warm for when he hears you stirring. And all that time while he's waiting, he's ironed all your clothes and polished your dress shoes for you. Oh. Man, I miss that guy. I mean, hey, podcast about fictional characters.
My number 3 is Chun-Li. Huge topic. In order to express Chun-Li's fuckability in the time allotted, I will be eschewing normal grammar in favor of fragmentary words and phrases. Thighs, gymnastics, confidence, aggression, cute hair, strongest woman in the world, exciting single girl, bending over to throw a fireball, joyful hopping, big fuck-off spiked bracelets, all men bow before me. Hell yeah, they do. Hell yeah, they do. In closing, imagine that butt. Thank you.
Can I jump in right here because my number 2 is Chun-Li, and I have big feels.
Don't we all?
If you haven't wanted this woman your entire sexual awareness, I don't understand you. She is beautiful. She has been thick since way before the 2000s said it was okay. Honestly, I'm shocked she wasn't mentioned in Baby Got Back. Look at her thighs, my friends. Look at her thighs. No, go Google them and appreciate them again. As good as a video of a kitten getting hiccups, but in a very different good feel sort of way. You can keep those earmuff buns, Chun-Li. I want those thighs warming my ears at night.
Bob, you're number 2.
Zangief! Fuck yes! Fuck yes! Daddy. My angelic himbo daddy. Rough, fun, playful sex, like bears wrestling in the woods. If I pout for even 1 second about something, I'm going to get held down by that massive fucking body. And he's going to say, "Da, I see. Next time I slap you harder, you will whine less, Zaychik." Because daddy is the best, and daddy's going to make sure I get everything I want. Also, big, I eat pussy for me vibes. Zangief goes down on you for an hour because he feels like it. Not really important to him whether you engage with the experience or not. And let me tell you, a man saying, "I don't give a fuck what you do, just open your legs and give me your pussy," is worth approximately $10 trillion on the open market. Men who are pussy hedonists could single-handedly save the economy if we can figure out how to monetize it.
If anyone can do it, it's you, Bob. I believe in you.
Thank you.
This is making me think of like Zangief and Blanca getting into a fight over who gets to go down on you. All right, Dan, you're number 2.
My number 2 is DJ.
Oh,
and
whoa.
I just do not see where you guys are coming from. Like, what is not to love here? You've got a dude in basically perfect physical shape, with a non-toxic positive attitude, who wants to have a good time and wants you to have a good time.
I know.
He's fun, he's funny, he's empathetic, he's willing to try new things, he doesn't get hung up on how good of a job he's doing. He lacks the pyrotechnics of some of the other characters on this list, but in terms of just like sexual and emotional fundamentals, you really can't get much better than him.
I'm watching you lose Bob more and more as you describe why they should be into DJ.
I mean, by this point, if anyone out there isn't convinced that Bob and I are on different planets, then this may be your first episode of Hard Choices.
You just walked into the room just now.
That's right. Welcome. Glad to have you.
My number 2 is Poison, and this is Big Feels. Poison unmistakably fucks, and that's no accident. She's a performer. This horny vibe is part of the performance, and she is out here fucking for the back row. Like, a crop and a chain belt and a peaked cap and a collar. With Poison, we are pushing beyond the realm of bondage enthusiast into the realm of cartoon mascot for the BDSM Council. The whole presentation is fantastically over the top, and clearly there is a super hot, super queer, very smart performer behind the presentation, but is the presentation just a pose? Obviously, I want what Poison is selling. The question is, can I really get it? Listener, I happen to know that I can, and I know because of MeganBob. As perceptive listeners may have picked up, I've always been very fond of Bob since way back when we first met on Smash Fiction and bonded over euphemisms for Hobbit cunnilingus. It took us an embarrassingly long time to realize that that was a meet cute. And over the course of my appearances here on Hard Choices, we became first friends with benefits, then lovers with drawbacks for a little while, and finally full-on partners.
I'm sorry. That's very good, baby.
Who are also best friends and everything else. I'm sorry. I too hate it when people talk about their real feelings on Hard Choices, but it's great. It's utterly fucking wonderful. Has been for a long time now. Although we haven't talked about it on the show. It is even better than you, the listener, presumably a Bob fan, would expect. And that, let's pretend, is why I bring this up now in what I remind you is a ranking of Poison from the Street Fighter franchise. You know Bob ostentatiously fucks, and so what you would wonder is whether the hype is true, whether they really are as sexy as their podcast persona would indicate. The short answer is yes, but here's the thing. And let's go back to Poison for a minute to shelter ourselves from the withering earnestness. Poison's voice is so sexy that you might forget she clawed her way out of a fucking orphanage to get here. Poison is low-key one of the most savvy and socially deft characters in the franchise, a successful promoter, a hell of a fucking entertainer, and yet it can be hard to see those highly fuckable qualities beyond just an impeccable rack, just an amazing fucking rack. It's so good. If the first personality trait you described to Poison were horny or flirty, you wouldn't be wrong. Those are by far the loudest. But before Poison could make a lifestyle out of being horny in public, she had to navigate to the top through a 1990s goddamn street gang as a trans woman. And we don't talk about that because she is too fucking good at her job to let our attention drift to all the things other than sexy and fun that she is. Poison absolutely fucks, but is also vastly stronger, deeper, smarter, and more entrenched on the side of the underdog than anyone can see from the audience. And I will tell you, you get that from Poison if you have the privilege of going backstage. You go through that curtain to Poison's dressing room, still buzzing from what you heard on the show, thinking you've hit the jackpot, but wondering, is this going to be a bait and switch? It is. It's not a jackpot, it's a fucking gold mine. Poison's riding crop and chain belt are not in the top 20 sexiest things that are about to happen to you. You are about to have the time of your fucking life.
God damn it.
Aww.
I know. You're so... how dare you? On my own show, you gave me an emotion on my own show. That's my job, Newton. That's my job.
True love is putting the person you love at number 2. That's what I always say.
For the record, Poison is my number 2 because number 1, I respect the integrity of the hard choices system. And number 2, because I want to make it very clear going forward that I'm not always talking about Bob in my top rankings on this show. It has happened, but not always. And because also I know that Bob is a tremendous mark for my number 1 and ultimately is going to be more into it if I put him over.
This is true.
Speaking of.
Of course, here's the rub. My number 1 is Poison.
Okay, we can wait. Go for it, Kam.
Do it.
So mine is a little bit shorter, but obviously, I am just going to say that if there is a trans woman out there who can knock you out when she blows a kiss, well, lock the cellar door and baby, talk dirty to me.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Bob, you're number 1.
And Bison.
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely not sorry. The feeling of being stalked cannot be bottled and it cannot be bought. I don't want to be hunted by someone with a casual interest. I want to be hunted by someone that did the fucking research and expended a ridiculous amount of resources to get me into his lair. Bison has the undeniable psychotic drive to have something at any costs. And if that something is you, then he has to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Do you understand what those words actually mean? I think most people don't. Am I crazy to want to be fucked by someone that would be willing to overthrow a government in order to see my pussy? Is that so unreasonable?
Yes.
More than that? Well, look, some people have limits. More than that, he's not going to be put off by a goddamn challenge. You are his challenge. Let me put it this way. Very few characters on this list would understand if I said, bite me, mark me. Sagat would do it. Zangief would do it. Jury would do it. And probably accidentally kill me in the process.
I don't think it would be all that accidental.
Only Bison would do it and take pictures. Only Bison would do it and want to make sure you wore something off the shoulder at brunch with Vega and Balrog so everyone couldn't avoid looking. And Bison would not give one single fuck how anyone else felt about it, because why would he? This is between you and him. Seduction is for the weak and spineless. Get you a man who does machinations and fucking conquest. That Muppet noise at the end where I just can't contain myself.
Mm-hmm.
Your take here is reminding me of M. Bison from Mega Dumbcast from the Street Fighter season. This is very much like the energy of Bison with his balls out and he doesn't care. He makes it everyone else's problem.
Yes.
Dan, you're number 1.
My number 1 is also M. Bison.
Mm-hmm.
He's into you, and that means you're going to get the treatment he gives to Chun-Li in the live-action movie. He's going to put you in a fancy little outfit. He's going to show you around Shadaloo headquarters, bragging about whatever master supervillain plan he's got going on this week. He makes sure that all his minions see you, and then it's off to his quarters to get down to business. Or maybe not. Maybe he just fucks you in his table in the war room and forces his lieutenants to watch and take notes.
Yeah.
Your sexual gratification is going to be yet another way in which he proves his superiority to the rest of the human race. And there is nothing that M. Bison loves more or does better.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. Number 1 for me also, M. Bison. And these are big feels. Psycho power. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
I'm so happy.
Yes, it is the cool glowy fire that M. Bison uses to power moves like the Psycho Crusher, the Psycho Punisher. But on a deeper level, it's one of the handful of spiritual power sources in Street Fighter. And it's the one that fucks. Satsui no Hado, murderous intent. Big power, useless in the bedroom. Soul power, too soft to get anything out of it. Have fun fucking Rose. Power of nothingness, There's a reason we traditionally save clarity for post-nut. Psycho power, fueled by fear, anger, remorselessness. Fueled by. It isn't identical with any of those things. And in fact, canonically, it's not inherently evil. It's the power of those few things that bypass your rational mind completely and bring out a core self beyond any concept of should. Getting to that place is a skill, an art, and M. Bison is its master. Look at the smile on this motherfucker. The way he looks at you when he hits you. If M. Bison is into you, he will hold you in place and wreck you, and you will never feel his grip weaken to spare you a bruise. He wants to bruise you, remorselessly, but he's never detached. He's predatory. He wants to devour you because of how you specifically taste. Hate can fuel psycho power, and there's something in a hate fuck. But more importantly, what is the capacity for hate? It's the capacity to give a fuck. And if you've had sex with people who give a fuck about you and people who don't, you know there's no comparison. Fucking some shithead who doesn't care if you get hurt is nothing. Fucking somebody whose mouth waters when you genuinely let slip an "oh no" during sex, that is everything. I think that's the sex M. Bison is having every day, and I don't see how I can rank anyone higher than that.
Oh, Raul, Julia, you've given us so much.
So, we've worked our way through every fighter in this tournament, culminating in a cathartic climax with the one fighter that each of us has been burning to fuck all along. In a Street Fighter game, this is where we would all get Street Fighter endings. We're not going to exactly give you Street Fighter endings, but we will wildly disagree, barely make sense, and raise more questions than we answer in a segment called Let's Unpack That.
Bob, I'd like to talk to you about Chun-Li.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people would. Dan, you know what? I'm okay being like prosecuted by the DA. That's fine.
Well, honestly, Bob, my objection to your take is less about Chun-Li specifically and more about the premise of this show. Because essentially what you said is Chun-Li rarely wants to have sex or is really excited about having sex. But when she does want to have sex, the sex is incredible. Now,
I didn't say it was incredible.
Okay.
I said it was like really good. Yeah.
Sure, really good. Now, the premise of this show is that she's into you. So,
Yes.
like, it's like a category error to put, like, misconnections in how good is the sex. That's my take.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to explain to you how your show works, but I am curious as to why you think that that's a defensible way of representing the character.
I think it's that I struggled with Chun-Li generally and was really trying to understand, like, this just doesn't seem like a person who does fuck very much. And so, like you said, that particular character, the kind of like tightly wound duty and honor type of person. And I was like trying to find my way through that to go like, where is the sex? And like the only thing that came up was just like the word pretty good. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, I did really bad with Chun-Li, but I was like, other than that, I would have just said good, but I don't know how to rank it because all I am getting is pretty good.
That's so interesting to me because I feel like you so often gravitate toward characters that you think of as being like overly serious or where like they are set up in a way where you can be the one who like breaks through their shell. You know, you can be the one who gets them to relax and you know,
but
that
she's
sort
not.
of thing.
Chun-Li's not sad.
No, Chun-Li's not. I mean, Chun-Li has reasons to be sad, but I don't think Chun-Li's sad. But also, I don't think Chun-Li would have any time for my I'm gonna annoy you and be adorable bullshit. I don't think that would go well.
Interesting.
But she's
really,
into you.
You think I could squirrel girl?
Yes.
Like,
I think the issue, Bob, is that she would find you only adorable and not annoying. I honestly think that that's what it is. I think she would find you legitimately funny, but you wouldn't get that little spark of like, oh, I hate how adorable I find you. She would just be like, oh, you're very cute, you know?
yeah, and I this is why Dr. Doom does so much for me. It's like a lot of other characters don't, because Dr. Doom would fall for it, but he would also hate that he fell for it. Whereas I don't think I don't think that would be how it breaks. You're right. She deserves to be higher, and I fucked up. Something about like stern lady types who aren't mean, I just always draw a blank. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't necessarily agree with the take, but I think that the logic makes sense to me because the way that you rank Chun-Li is similar to the way that I rated Ryu, where it's like, the fact that he's into you doesn't change the fact that this may just not be a big part of his life. It may not be a thing he's invested in. And I can see where if your read on Chun-Li is like, sure, she can have sex, but like she doesn't super care about it. It's not an important thing or something she's going to want to do often. Then maybe that would not be the most satisfying sexual relationship. Even if you do have sex from time to time, I don't know. There's something in like the way that you are, like the fact that this is specifically a femme character. It feels like maybe the vibe there is just like, maybe in theory the sex is good, but it's not going to be important. Like there's not going to be enough traction, you know?
Yeah, definitely for me. And like, there are serious lady characters I can get into, but usually they need to have more of an edge than that. And I know she's super fuckable. I can't perceive it. I'm looking at the magic eye and everyone's like, oh my God, it's a flamingo. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't see this.
I think, Bob, we're all looking at a picture of a flamingo and you are just like, I don't know. I don't see what you're all seeing.
Look, tough but fair. I accept this. None of you are incorrect. Also, Dan, Zangief.
Uh-huh.
What? Oh, so you're afraid because he's so big and strong, right?
Well,
is that the fear?
I just think that I don't think he has gentle sex, or at the very least, like, I don't think he would enjoy having gentle sex as much as he would enjoy like having rough sex. And rough sex is gonna like dislocate my shoulder. So like, again, I am not saying no to Zangief, but like I have to kind of even out the experience, you know, like I'm averaging the intense physical pleasure, which I do think is gonna be there, with the fact that like I'm probably going to need to get a cast afterwards. You know, it's honestly a very similar experience to what I see with Jury. Jury just goes a little higher because I think that she's a little more skilled at having sex. I think that like Zangief fucks like he's a battering ram. I think that Jury's a bit more precise about it. And I think that just like on an objective level, that I think is going to be better because she like knows what she's doing.
I do not agree that Zangief has zero finesse.
Okay.
I find that very hard to believe. I mean, look, Daniel Mulkerin, do you think that Zangief, friend to the bear, has never been, now go with me on this, okay? I'm taking you by the hand. I'm leading you down fan fiction. He has never been friends with a bear that has recently become a mother and been like, come meet my cubs? Like, do you think he's never been invited to hold a baby bear cub before? I find that very difficult. I think he knows how to be gentle.
That's an interesting take. I will say...
That's a very kind way to put it. I'm like going...
No.
Well, he went to a bear's, you know, we just had a baby party.
Yeah. No. Like, when I say it's an interesting take, I don't mean that, like, in a euphemistic patting you on the head sort of way. Like, that is legitimately an interesting take. I will say, I think that while he would enjoy the experience of both holding a baby bear and fucking gently, I don't believe that is his ideal way of interacting with a bear or fucking. Does that make sense?
You know what?
But here's the thing.
Okay.
I mean, those things aren't contradictory, right? Like, if you're gonna fuck that hard, you also have to be able to protect somebody. I seem to recall, and this may be from the tabletop Street Fighter role-playing game, but I seem to recall that part of the, like, spinning pile driver is, like, doing it so that it doesn't kill people.
Oh my God, he's a safe worker? That's hot.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's totally consistent. Like, if Zangief is going to go this hard, then he has to be... Even if it doesn't always come across as gentle, it definitely could be because he has to have the ability to do what he wants to do to you and physically protect you. So that makes sense. And he doesn't kill bears. Like, he doesn't have this. This is not like a murderous rampage of bears. Like, it's, you know, he just wrestles them.
Well, sure, but I mean, I don't want to fight Zangief. And in my mind, I think that if he has his way, a lot of the experience is going to be similar. That's the way I see it. And I might be wrong. You know, like, I do think that he's probably capable of fucking gently, but I don't think that it's how he would do it if he had the choice. And I also don't think it's necessarily what he's best at.
To me, that is where I draw the line between somebody like Zangief versus Juri, or, you know, if it's a different way of fucking Vega, if it were a different situation. There are those people who, like, they want to fuck you up in a harmful way, versus Zangief. I feel like this is a guy who, like, he doesn't want anything bad to happen to you, but he does want to go as hard as he possibly can without something bad happening to you, which to me is all the difference in the world. Like, I didn't rank Zangief that high, but he's not close to Juri in my mind. I'm not... In a perfect world, I begin to wonder whether my dick will be broke, but it won't be, and it never was going to be. This was all theater.
Sure.
Yeah, you just buy some O-nuts, you're going to be fine.
Kam, I have a question for you. Way back in the Mortal Kombat episode, if memory serves, you ranked Shao Kahn the highest out of all of us in that episode, and now he wasn't like top of your list, but he was like relatively high.
Because you were wondering why.
Yeah, like I even invited you in that episode to like paint me a picture of like, you know, what a fuck with Shao Kahn would be like, you know. And
French doors swung open.
French doors, exactly. See, it's burned into both of our minds, and I'm sure the minds of our listeners as well. So, I'm curious about how comparatively low you ranked M. Bison. You know, you ranked him by far the lowest of all of us. Everyone had him at number 1. You had him at number 15. So,
Yes.
like, you know, to your mind, these are the two kind of super villainous antagonists of their respective fighting game series. What do you feel like is either lacking in M. Bison, or like what aspect of his personality like throws him off to you? Like, why is Shao Kahn more appealing to you than M. Bison?
Well, first, Hydra, what those mouths do. But also...
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
But also, I think it is actually against M. Bison that he is so competent at being evil. And Shao Kahn is shitty at it, so I'm not as scared.
I see. So you're going for more of the Skeletor, more of the Cobra Commander, more of the 80s cartoon villain.
Exactly.
As opposed to someone
like
who's like legitimately a threat.
You're shopping for some cum in the eye.
You all are in healthy relationships. I'm not. I see the scary much more often than I think you guys like. You guys actually know there are decent people out there for yourselves. I don't have that. I have fear.
I don't know. Kit sometimes does talk about how much they want to take down those meddling turtles. And every time I ask them about that, they just change the subject. So...
Okay, so Dan, Sonya Blade was really high and Cammy was really low. What the fuck? They're the same character.
I don't know about that, because Sonya had more or less like a complete like childhood, I guess. She grew into a person along the same track that most people do. Like Cammy, her storyline's a little muddied in my head at least, but like I get the sense, if I'm remembering correctly, she didn't like fully come into consciousness until she was like biologically 15 years old or something along those lines. So like,
yeah, and they wiped her memory a couple times.
Yeah. So like, number one, Sonya Blade feels more like a real person to me. And she's like, you know, she's a real person. Well, first of all, I didn't rank Sonya that high in the Mortal Kombat episode. And like, the other thing you have to remember, and we'll talk about this later, Street Fighter is a much more fuckable universe than Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
So like,
yes, it is.
a Mortal Kombat 5 is like a Street Fighter 15. You know what I mean? So there's all of that. But all of that is to say, I feel like Sonya Blade has gotten to a point where she's had enough sex that she knows what she likes. She knows that she wants it. She doesn't prioritize it. But when she wants it, she can engage with that. I feel like Cammy is not even at that stage in her existence. Like, I feel like she is really seeking a sense of like safety and physical intimacy and just like being around people that she can let her guard down around. You know, like Sonya already has that with like Jax and Stryker, I guess. I honestly have no idea what's going on with Stryker. But like, I just feel like, you know, Cammy will get to that point it's going to take a little while first. She has to like go through some character growth. She has to find people that she trusts, all that sort of thing. She's just not at the same place, in my opinion.
Fair.
Yeah, because Cammy, it truly does have like a confusing backstory, like kind of a stunted, and that's my rating. I mean, I think I ranked Cammy higher than anyone, and I think there's something there, but it's just like she's only knocked down a peg by the fact that she has not had an opportunity to develop her own like sexual identity. Like I think she could do it for you, but she doesn't have her own self. Like, once she's, I mean, look, there's no way this isn't weird, but what I'm saying is once she's a little bit older and has her own sexual perspective, I would totally fuck Cammy. That's all.
Yeah. I will say my take on Cammy may be shaped by, because I recently played Street Fighter 6 quite a bit, and there's a moment in that game, because like you get her as one of your trainers, she like teaches you her style and everything, and there's this like side quest where she's like, all right, I need to teach you how to be a spy, so I'm gonna like give you all these locations in Metro City, and I need you to like sneak there and like take a picture without anyone noticing, and then send that picture to me. And it turns out she is having you take pictures of cats and she just like wants a collection of pictures of cats, and she like very low key is like cuting out over them while trying to prevent you from realizing that that's what's going on. And I was like, she is adorable. Like, I think that's more of where like my take on the character is coming from.
Oh, the Street Fighter swimsuit special, the one where she's like laying on the beach and she's like looking up over her butt at like the viewer, and she's reading Krav Maga for cat lovers.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Ryu, why is he anything? Why does he exist? What is the point of him? Ryu, can somebody in this universe give a defense for his existence, or is there none?
He doesn't even have hockey hair. There's just no point.
He's just a bland, wandering guy.
Okay, going back to Street Fighter 6.
Okay.
So in that game, you are the person who gives Ryu his first cell phone, I think, or he gets a cell phone very shortly after meeting you, so that he can like keep in contact with you. And like, what you realize is he has no idea how cell phones work.
Oh my god!
He keeps mistexting you, and like he'll like send you incomplete text or like misspelled text, and like doesn't know what emoji are for or how to use them properly. And
oh my god.
And that's the most characterization I've ever seen from Ryu. Is like,
I'm like, okay, so he's a dumbass, and I'm like,
yeah, he is so out of touch with anything that isn't karate that it's like he may not even know what year it is, like, and I feel like that's a personality trait, right? Like that's not.
It's something to hang your hat on.
Yeah, exactly. Oof. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Christopher Newton.
Yes.
The Dan Hibiki of Smash Fiction.
Right.
What?
Who? I mean, do you have a suggestion for who else would be the Dan Hibiki of Smash Fiction?
I mean, does there have to be a Dan Hibiki for Smash Fiction? Is there a law?
Given the premise that there is a Dan Hibiki of Smash Fiction, to whom does the pink key fit?
There's other characters. Why?
Okay, first of all, your podcast persona on Smash Fiction is very different from what it is now.
Okay,
and I think
true.
Like, greatly to your benefit on Smash Fiction, because people did not generally. I mean, look, I've talked on the podcast before about the dossier. One of the things that I wrote about like having you in matches is the fact that you were very dangerous on Smash Fiction because you were not taken seriously, not just in the level that you were underestimated, but the fact that like if you could successfully like make a joke out of someone's argument, that was it for them. And so that was the idea was like, yeah, MeganBob is like the joke character of Smash Fiction who is gonna like make what seems to be a silly argument. That doesn't mean that you can't effectively do Smash Fiction, but you're gonna effectively do it by using approaches to the match that seem like a joke. That's the analogy there. I mean, I don't loathe you if that's what you're asking. It's not a perfect analogy.
Okay. All right,
yeah.
All right. I was just like, after looking into Dan Hibiki, I was like, oh, gas.
I'm glad that you told me this now, because last time we took a break, I went over, I got myself a drink, and I threw out the pink key that I bought you.
Oh man. So okay, within Street Fighter, Dan Hibiki is like, is he important? Or does he get kidnapped a lot? Like, what is his deal?
I mean, I think he's a comedy character, right? I mean, that's his, and not only is he a comedy character, but he's a joke character in the sense that, like, my sense is, I'm not like deep into like competitive Street Fighter or anything, but my sense is that the point of having a character like him is that he has moves that like seem ineffectual, and the trick is like, how do you figure out how to use him effectively? And because originally he was a parody of other fighting games, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I've been, in addition to playing a lot of Street Fighter 6, I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls recently, and like there are so many just like challenge runs you can do with that game where it's like, see if you can get through this entire game with no armor and no shield and you never heal. Things like that. And, you know, there is something in, I feel like, video games specifically where you take the suboptimal choice and through making it work, prove your superiority to everyone else who have to use like the more conventional choices, who are more like intentionally designed to be effective. You know what I mean? It's like winning with a handicap, you know?
Okay, I was like, why would he be in the games? What is the point? But okay, all right. Yeah. Now I can see if it's like a
and I think
a challenge.
I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough about Street Fighter to say this for sure, but I think that in some cases the joke character is not necessarily a weak character, just a high skill character. You have to be able to figure out how to use them. There was one of those in one of the Pokemon in Smash Brothers.
Oh, Jigglypuff?
Which one was it? Was it Jigglypuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is like the character you wouldn't expect to be tough, but they are. I should have called you the Jigglypuff of Smash Fiction, and I do apologize for that. All right. I'm going to take a look at this real quick and see if there's anything I want to ask about.
We did all think that Dan was very brave for wanting to fuck DJ. There was that.
Yes. DJ. I remember, so in preparation for this, I went back and listened to all the Street Fighter, like not the whole Street Fighter season of MDC, but I listened to like the Street Fighter Swimsuit special on Patreon. I listened to Street Friender, and it reminded me of how like DJ was presented as this like charismatic, attractive guy when he was introduced to the franchise, but there is fucking nothing about DJ. Like if you go out, you almost can't find porn of DJ. Nobody cares enough to make it. He's got something like, I don't know, like 2 appearances or whatever on eHentai. Like when I did the aggregation to like rank the fuckability of the different Street Fighter characters as the fans see it. So truly, it's strange. I guess like while we have you here on the show, Dan, because you're like a rare find.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to hear why someone would find anything sexually in DJ, because like the whole world disagrees with you. There are like 3 people anywhere in line to fuck DJ, and you're one of them. That's amazing.
So what I would say is like, I feel like porn comes from a place of desire, right? It's like, I want to fuck this person, or I want to see this person fuck or whatever. And like, I cannot approach ranking characters in this show from a place of desire, because if I do, all the women are going to be up top and all the men are going to be tied for last, right? Like, I need to take the premise of this show very, very seriously. And if I position myself within the framework of someone who is into DJ, I think he's good, right? Like, I think that he, like, all of his personality traits, kind of everything that he brings to the table, I'm just like, if I'm in the place where I find myself attracted to this guy and he's attracted to me, I feel like he knows what he's doing, you know? Like, I feel like he is going to show me a good time.
Yeah.
I struggled with DJ too, because I was like, there's nothing in here that would make me say like no, until I thought about like, oh wait, there's going to be a social cost to dealing with DJ, and like I don't want to pay that. But no, you're right, like personality wise, he seems like he's going to be pretty easy to get along with and pretty like affable and down to have a good time. I can't get over the fact that his background, like his whole thing of I am going to do street fighting to break into like the music industry, makes me go like, you are dumb as shit. And like, but I don't know. You're right. That Dan, that shrug is 100% there. Look, we did Parks and Rec. There's plenty of dumb as shit characters where you're like, is that a deal breaker? Is that a bad
I don't really think that factors into the fuck, you know? It's just like, he's...
I did... Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's like when my mom tried to convince me to eat plain Greek yogurt with cinnamon on it, and that made it all better somehow.
Yeah.
Christ.
You do have to hang out with this guy. Yeah, that's the like if you're gonna fuck him, that entails hanging out with him. And I think that is a part of it. Like and it's not that it's so off-putting, it's just that it's so nothing. I feel like he's gonna like after I fuck DJ, he's gonna autograph something for me. Like I don't
Oh no.
Yeah. He's
so obsessed with he's getting hit so that he can be a fucking music star. Do you think he ever shuts up about it? Ever?
I mean,
no, I was just imagining like the fact that I feel like DJ is one of those people who invites you to like a big party at his house, but like it's very clear that he threw the party so that everybody would know like that how cool he is that he would have a party like this. And like I'm not less charmed by that, honestly. In some ways, for me, that's a little helpful. But I was like, oh yeah, I don't know, man. He might be one of those. But he is so affable. When he says "Mon," I am charmed, and that makes me
again
that person.
Like I think probably I was thinking a lot about how he appears in Street Fighter 6 because like when he's another one of your like mentors in that game, and when you go to visit him, it's like it's in Jamaica, it's on the beach, there's like a party going on, it's sunset, everyone is having a good time, no one is wearing more than 2 pieces of clothing, like you can give gifts to your mentor in order to like improve your relationship with them, and the thing he likes the most is if you just bring him a beer. Like he just, it's just like he's not trying to push his mixtape on you. He's not like whipping out the acoustic guitar and like, trying to show you this new thing. He just wants to hang out, He's just having a good time and everyone around him is having a good time. And I was like, I want to be part of that.
Okay.
This is because I watched that too. He's not whipping out the acoustic guitar because he is the acoustic guitar. His entire persona, everything about him, that's what when he walks into the room, it is like, here comes the entertainment. Fuck this guy. I cannot deal with it. Yeah.
He is Wonderwall.
Yeah, he leads with his crotch.
But I want to go to that party. It sounds really lovely, and I now
Well, you can't cuz I'm going to do it. You know what? You're not invited to the party.
All right. Fine. I thought you were going to say he just really wants like a spliff or something like that. And I was like, yeah, but no.
You know what? If Capcom weren't a bunch of cowards, I'm sure that's what it would be.
I have one more thing. Kam, Akuma.
Yes.
Okay.
You put it like number 7, I think?
Yes.
That is nuts. I remember what Bob's deal was. What was your deal with Akuma?
So he's incredibly serious. And see, and this is something I've understood about Bob, and Bob has actually brought out in me a little bit more. But if there's somebody who's sitting in the corner looking very serious, but every now and then gives this glimmer of maybe they're going to smile, I cannot help myself. It is a magnet, and look at me go, the little iron filing that I am. I have to get them to smile. I have to.
That makes sense to me. And that's like, I remember this coming up with, I don't remember if it was like Xanatos or somebody on Gargoyles, but like that was like Andy Creighton and I disagreed on a ranking. But it ultimately, like, we had the same take on the character. It was just we had different like estimates of ourselves and like how we would deal with like if you think you can get Akuma, then absolutely that like rockets him up the list because that's such a hard get. So yeah, I
yeah, but the premise of the show, Chris.
But I think there's different degrees of into and different degrees of
that's
getting.
Exactly.
I'm just looking to get him to smile.
Yeah. That's a harder get with him.
Per my ranking, I think his intensity and the fact that he is like possessed by this force that is all about murder. If he thought he liked you enough for you to be an obstacle to the training, he would have to kill you.
Like, he can murder my pussy. That's easy.
You know, that turns out not to be a great way to get people out of your life. That's hard-won knowledge. Doesn't.
Man, we got broken dicks and murdered pussies as far as the eye can see in this episode.
The hard choices story.
Okay, so I think we've talked a lot about our differences. We've talked a lot about our opinions. Fortunately, the fighting game community has a definitive and objective way to settle the kind of disagreements we're experiencing right now. A tier list.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for the final rankings.
Let's get it.
Coming in at number 1, Poison. Alone in S tier. Alone in A tier. At number 2, we have M. Bison. At number 3, alone in B tier is Chun-Li. It's amazing. Like, top 3 huge differences among all of them. Then we go down to C tier. We've got at number 5, Sagat and Zangief.
The 7-foot club.
Yeah.
Ship name Big and Tall. Number 6, Rainbow Mika. Number 7, Blanca.
That's a good orgy.
They're having a good time over in B tier.
I mean, is that even really an orgy? That's more just like a group sex situation, but that's pretty good. That's a fun mix.
Well, we're not done with C tier yet. We got at number 8, we've got T-Hawk. Definitely bringing his own thing to that. At number 9, Ken. Obviously, somebody had to invite Ken because, no one can be trusted. At number 10, we have E. Honda. And rounding out C tier at number 11, we have Guile.
Guile?
That's my fault.
Yes.
No, it's not that. I was just like, that's not somebody you bring to a sex party.
No, not at all. If there's somebody there, without naming any names, who wants to take one for the team and fuck this dude, why don't you just take him away from the party?
Okay.
Thank you.
D tier makes up the rest of the list, the under median. And here we have at number 13, we have Cammy and DJ.
You know what? DJ might be good for Cammy.
Yeah. Just some kind of uncomplicated, straight ahead positivity and intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a good starter boyfriend.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be like, hey, I'm not ready to grow yet. How about you? Nope.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as she didn't get attached.
Number 14, we have Dalsim. Number 15, we have Akuma. Number 16, Jury. Number 17, Vega. Number 18, Balrog. Number 19, Ryu. Number 20, Dan Hibiki. And number 21, Sakura, which I don't know, man. Like, I my understanding is in the last game that came out, she's thinking about, like, do I want to be a fighter? And if you're ranking under Dan Hibiki in anything, yeah, get out. You're done.
Yeah.
There's only one more thing to determine. What rank out of 10 boners do we award to the world of Street Fighter as a whole?
I'm like right in between a 7 or an 8 for this. I think I'm going to round up to an 8, though.
Ooh.
What I've found doing these episodes is I think I tend to value franchises in which the characters have very large personalities. Because I think that, that's when you get a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, a lot of very interesting encounters. And like, Street Fighter is nothing but a bunch of caricatures, but they're all having fun. And I don't know. I think that you can have some real interesting times with these people.
Yeah. The cliches are having a ball, as Umberto Eco wrote, I think, about Casablanca.
That's right.
I'm actually going to say the same of between a 7 and 8, but I'm going to round down to a 7. Only because I am afraid of getting hurt physically.
Okay.
The end.
I think I'm going to say 7. Also, because I'm into it up until about 16. And then I still have some, like, I'd be okay with it after that, but not super excited about it. Not that I'd be super excited about this Vega kind of hate fuck, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the entire universe. Yeah. There's some weirdly intense, like some like intense maybes. I feel like that gets it to like a 7.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this one was really, really hard for me because I am like, most of this list is great for me. Like, looking at this, I mean, I am, speaking of Vega, I'm super into this down to about like number 12 with Vega. And then I'm still like, I think overall having a positive experience at 13 and 14 with Zangief and Guile. but I don't have a ton of just like maybes here. Like, you know, Ken is like, it's just like a thing I'm not into. I don't think I'd have a good time. And then under that, we've got like, Dan Hibiki, Balrog, Ryu, Dalsim, Juri, and Akuma, which are somewhere on a scale of like, I hate this guy and wouldn't want to be around him versus I think I would actually get murdered and probably not fucked. And so that's like, that's the very bottom of the list, but those are extreme no's. So I think I still have to do an 8 because the top of this list is so strong. Looking up at the top of the list, I don't know, like by number 7, by Cammy, top 7, we're talking about like characters who could be at the top of another list.
Oh, wow. Like a composite list.
Well, just in the sense that like if these characters were in a different franchise, like I can easily imagine the franchise where Cammy is number 1 with a bullet, like obviously. Same with Rainbow Mika. You know, my take on Blanca's idiosyncratic, but I think him too. And then, Sagat, Chun-Li, Poison, M. Bison, all super fuckable characters. Let's see. And that is a 7.5 average. So a surprisingly weak showing for a very fucky franchise. But like to your point, Dan, these are characters with such big personalities. I think we have like bigger positives and negatives than we often do on these lists.
Yeah. The highs are very high and the lows are very low.
All right, so what did we learn here today?
I actually did learn something pretty surprising to me. I didn't realize that the way I've always ranked these is how I feel about the experience after the fact. Because I think if I were to rank things based on looking forward to it, as opposed to how I would feel about myself and what happened after it, the rankings might change significantly. Like, I think Vega would be way higher if I ranked it differently. Yeah. But, like, after the fact, I'd just be like, ugh, I don't feel good about myself. Yeah. It's like eating onion rings, as MeganBob once said.
But I do love eating onion rings.
Yeah, can I get some onion rings?
Yeah.
I know.
I had them today.
Ooh, let's go fuck some onion rings, everybody. Onion rings, new number 1.
No, that's a really good point, Cam. I think like I always do the opposite. It's always like what is the fuck actually like? And that's why I think very often I'm ranking people lower who like of course you want to get them, but I don't think you can get them. I often find myself like on the outside from the pack, like ranking those people very low because I think you'd want it so hard and you'd try, but like ultimately you're not going to get what you're looking for.
Well, I think I learned. This seems like it's not true, but like looking at my list, apparently I want my dick broken more than I want my shoulder dislocated, which that can't be right. And yet, there it is.
I will say there's rarely a story that like starts out real hot and then surprise you get your shoulder dislocated. I think that's much more common with getting your dick broken.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm allured by the the mysticism of it all.
For me, like I expected this to be like a very high ranking list for me, and I think like the number notwithstanding, this is still like this contains some of the characters I'm most into. I think maybe what I learned was like the actual physical roughness here came out in a way that it hasn't in other episodes, and it was interesting to see how much that affects everybody's rankings. That like for some people, a sadist is like relatively equivalent to rough sex, whereas like for other people, those are two totally different things and totally different rankings. So yeah, it was this was kind of like this was to me like the roughness episode, and that's very interesting.
I feel like that kind of comes from it being a fighting game, right? Like we primarily see these characters express themselves through violence. And for me, at least, I feel like this felt more violent than Mortal Kombat, which is ironic because, Mortal Kombat has the reputation for being the much more violent franchise. But like Street Fighter, I feel like the characters' moves are very expressive of who they are. Whereas in Mortal Kombat, from game to game, like what moves they do kind of change depending on like, what the individual game is doing. So I think that in Street Fighter, the sense of who the characters are is more grounded in how in the ways in which they perform violence. And therefore it's a little difficult to imagine them divorced from that aspect of themselves.
I learned that apparently we're all way more into like evil island nation dictators than I was expecting we would all be. Like I just was not expecting. I was like, okay, like, yeah, I know. Kam is over here like, yeah, I know. I just was not expecting Bison to actually be that near the top of our collective list. I was like, okay, you know, I'll definitely have him high. Chris will probably have him high. And then Dan over here as well going like, oh no, definitely. This man with a dictator hat, yes, please. And I was like, gasp. We have an accord about like how much we're going, this man who has a complete terrorist organization dedicated to his whims.
I think the Secret of Shadowloo season of MegaDumbcast did a lot of really good PR work for that man. So,
and incidentally, made me so much more interested in fucking Vega. Although I don't think I'm imagining fucking Vega the way that Bison would. But no, like yes, you're right. Both of those characters, for me at least personally, having made the season, they benefited a lot.
Sorry, I should have said something instead of just nodding. Yeah. There we go. I can edit that in. No, it'll be awkward. And that leads us very neatly into plugs. Kris, you should plug your fucking podcast about Street Fighter. Go off.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so MegaDumbcast. It is a podcast where I identify the dumbest thing on each and every goddamn page of a role-playing book of some kind. Started with Palladium games, did Heroes Unlimited, Ninjas and Super Spies, Beyond the Supernatural. Then there was a weird season where I did not identify the dumbest thing, but instead each page's Secret of Shadowloo from a book called Secrets of Shadowloo, which is a tabletop role-playing game supplement for, believe it or not, White Wolf's Street Fighter role-playing game. That was a really fun season where I sort of developed, you know, my headcanon characters of like who M. Bison and Vega were based on what's presented in the book. Not just those two, but other Street Fighters as well. So if you want to hear more of these idiosyncratic takes on Street Fighters, then you should listen to that season. I also did a series called Wiki World Warriors, where I worked with international listeners on MDC to create Street Fighters in that game from their respective countries. That was a lot of fun. And Street Friender, that is the episode that I did with MeganBob, where I fell in love with them and then proceeded not to realize it for many months. So if you want if you want to go back and like catch the beginning of this story that we've talked about tonight, that is the place to go. And then you can listen to all the episodes in between and honestly probably feel really weird about it now, going back and listening. I don't recommend that.
And I mean, very pertinent to this episode, you did also do the series Handsome Fighters.
Yes.
In which you painstakingly combed the internet for various and sundry sexual representations of the different Street Fighter characters, compared their win and loss record, and tried to figure out what, if any, correlation was to be had there. It was fascinating.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Fuck, so
and you're
good.
reminding me that there was a great alternate cover for one of those Street Fighter swimsuit specials from Udon with Cammy in like the mesh, like the see-through wedding dress. That is something I did not properly apply to these rankings. So yeah. We got to throw the episode out, but great job everybody nonetheless.
Kam, would you like to plug something?
So I am part of the Unspoiled Network. I don't have a podcast myself that I'm working on right now, though there's some mumblings in the background that I'm crossing my fingers for, so do the same with me. I will say, if you ever want 2.5 minutes of some cute stuff that I put together a while ago, Google on YouTube my favorite geek things and just see if you enjoy it, because some random dude in Norway did the other day and wrote me on Facebook about it.
All right.
It was so sweet.
Way to go, random guy from Norway.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, Dan, what about you?
I'm still doing Garden Plots with Skeletor, despite the fact that it's on hiatus at the moment, and probably will be for at least a little bit longer. We'll see how it goes. But we have like 2.5 seasons of it up. But yeah, if you want to hear me do a really goofy voice, if you want to hear some truly exceptional comedy writing from MeganBob and our other two writers, Marissa and Hub, If you want to hear a bunch of our friends and some, frankly, astonishingly high-profile voice actors engaging in very silly storytelling, Garden Plots, I can't recommend it enough. And you learn about plants, actual real facts about plants that you may actually use in your real life. It's what more can you ask for?
We guarantee that we Googled these and probably fact checked them slightly by looking at a second website about that plant just to see, did it disagree wildly? All right, everybody, get the fuck ready because Bad Choices Nick at Night Couples is coming to a live stream near you on November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. Yes, put it in your calendar right now. I know you are rushing to get your phone. You're like, no, Bob, say it again because I don't have my phone out. November 23rd at 5 p.m. And you know what? This is so important to me. This is like unbelievably important to me. I want as many people to be there as fucking possible. So normally this is not the way Bad Choices works. But for this Bad Choices, every patron of Hard Choices from $1.69 on up, you get to get into Bad Choices. It's just that important to me. So if you're not a patron, now is the ideal fucking time to join. Get in there. You can get in for as low as $1.69 and make sure that you can come to Bad Choices Nick at Night Couples on November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Great job. That I think you might have said the date 2 or 3 times in one sentence, which is perfect. That's exactly right. And now, is that a Saturday, Bob?
It is a Saturday.
Which Saturday, though?
Saturday, November 23rd.
That's the one. I thought I remembered hearing that somewhere.
At 5 p.m. Pacific.
5 p.m. Pacific.
So that way, if you are on the East Coast, that's just about drinking time. Whereas for those of us on the West Coast, that is not drinking time, but it goddamn will be. We're going to make it drinking time. And in order to help you along with that, in order to get into the fun of it, every patron at the $4.20 tier, $4.20, you get a Bad Choices bingo card and you get a fun little prize at the end of the night for playing along. Every patron at that tier and above gets a bingo card. The bingo cards are so much fun. They're a blast. I love them. And it's really fun to watch everybody get bingos in the chat, all that other stuff. So I really do recommend if you want to have a good time avidly listening and seeing if you get a bingo, this is a good time. But I mean, it's going to be a good time no matter what. I know Kris said probably not going to be an orgy and maybe not going to be an orgy, but it's going to be a sexy fucking episode, dangerously sexy.
Yeah, this is going to be such a good time. I'm really looking forward to getting back to Bad Choices. I'm looking forward to doing this with the hosts we have lined up.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to talking about these characters. Yeah, I'm glad that all the patrons get to go to this one because I think it's going to be amazing.
I'm going to cosplay during it. I mean, I don't know. Is cosplay the word I want? I'm going to dress like a 1950s housewife is what I mean. Is that cosplaying? I don't know. If you want to get into Bad Choices Nick at Night Couples happening on November 23rd, Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific, you need to go over to patreon.com/hardchoices. You need to become a patron, and then you need to go to the post. It will be the most recent post, and it will let you sign up to attend the live stream. Because one of the ways that Crowdcast works is that you do have to register yourself. And so that way you have to have a way to sign in to attend the stream. And so there will be a post on Patreon, and that is where you go to make sure that you are registered, and then you will be able to attend Bad Choices Nick at Night Couples on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. Come on, come drink martinis with us. Come drink martinis with us and let me talk about how much I want to fuck pretty much all of them, maybe to death.
Oh, these characters, man. And martinis are very good too. So I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, they're very effective.
Mm-hmm. What else is there? I'm sorry. Have I been drinking wrong?
Come watch us drink the wrong way. Bad choices, Nick at Night couples. It's going to be an amazing evening. Truly one for the fucking books. You are not going to want to miss this. Hey, everybody. I have an OnlyFans. Long time coming. Get it? That's terrible. I'm sure we can all agree and collectively groan at how absolutely unforgivable a pun that was. This is who I am. You can see more of me over at onlyfans.com/MeganBob. It is free to subscribe. OnlyFans requires an account and a credit card to verify that you mean business, but they do not charge you a damn thing to subscribe to my page. You got to put it in. You got to put it in, but you don't have to do anything about it. I can't believe I said those words, especially in regards to an OnlyFans, but this is what my life is like now. If you're not in the market to get onto OnlyFans, but still want to be alerted to all the sexy happenings, as well as get some hotter content than usual, you can join the Mostly Fans tier on Patreon for $6.99. Hot stuff is going to be happening, but I don't want to bug y'all about it all the time. So if you want to know about it, this is how you make sure that you stay in the sexy loop. And Bad Choices is coming up, and the sexy loop is going to be a buzz. And look, if you're worried that my OnlyFans is just going to be relentless smut with zero sense of artistic consideration or comedic value, I am insulted. I cannot talk about all the wild stuff I've got lined up, but rest assured, it is brilliantly weird, fun, and hilarious in ways that are truly one of a fucking kind, but that you absolutely cannot release in public. I'd love to see you over there, so go over to onlyfans.com/MeganBob and feel free to say hi. Or don't say hi, it's okay, you can be shy. Believe me, you're going to really want to stay in the loop on some of the stuff that's going to be happening over at onlyfans.com/MeganBob. So go over there, subscribe, and stay in the know. Or subscribe at the $6.99 Mostly Fans tier on Patreon to make sure that you don't miss a damn thing. Thank you so much for downloading, listening to this episode of Hard Choices. This one has been a long time in the making. I'm glad we could get everybody together to do this one and come back again to find out what the fuck we're doing, because I don't know what it is yet. Until then, stay hard. This has been Hard Choices. If you want to show your support and get access to all kinds of extra episodes, outtakes, and other goodies, go to patreon.com/hardchoices. You can get in on the after party for as little as $1.69, baby! You can see more of MeganBob's solo work over at onlyfans.com/MeganBob. It's free to subscribe, and there's some choice stuff to savor if you're ready to drop a few bucks on bespoke sexiness. If you had a good time listening, please leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Heck, drop a recommendation to us on social media. Tell a friend about the show. Tell your favorite subreddit. Anything you do to spread the word means a ton and helps Hard Choices become more powerfully thirsty than ever before. This episode was produced by Kris Newton. Go listen to his podcast, MegaDumbcast, and laugh your fucking ass off at the weirdness of role-playing games. You can listen to his work at megadumbcast.podbean.com or support his work at patreon.com/megadumbcast. The music used in this production is licensed through Uppbeat. You can find details in our show notes and hear lots of great tunes at uppbeat.io, spelled UPPBEAT.io. The Hard Choices logo is designed by Elliot B.K. Lang. Please go follow their work at Elliot B.K. Lang on Blue Sky, spelled ELLIOTBKLANGE.BSKY.social. Their art is so cute. If you'd like to get into touch with us, email hardchoicespod@gmail.com and say, hey. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. You're a peach!